Quickly into space, Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter, second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the key. What cut? Broken ankles. See ya.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida, 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go today, 365 Sports on a Thursday afternoon with Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. We appreciate your time. We have Sam Kahn, Max Olson, and Taylor McCarg today lined up to be a part of the show, plus SFA football coach Kobe Carthel will join us later. They're playing tonight against Northwestern Louisiana. A win will give them outright the Southland Conference Championship. They're headed to the national playoffs. But we have immediate news. This is something that at 4 o'clock today, I'm being told that Baylor's Board of Regents and others will be meeting to discuss the future of Mack Rhoades. And what I mean by that is working out an agreement with Mack on interim leave, and eventually he's not coming back. And today they're going to meet about it. And I think Baylor wanted to kind of release this a little bit later on. I did speak to one member of the board who told me that, no question, the meeting was just to figure out exactly the protocol on how they will move on with Mack Rhoades not coming back as the director of athletics.
Well, this wasn't going any other way. When Tim Brando was on yesterday, he said, well, I really, he's like, I hope Mack gets through this. And, if he comes back, and I want to be like, buddy, that's not happening. I mean, just the entire breadth of the story, which is now just between Mack and Baylor and his family and all that has to happen. But that's all over. But the actual, ink being dry on the separation agreement and whatever this is. And I kind of always thought that Baylor would negotiate this out and he would, find the softest landing they could make happen for them. Although none of this has been soft, given how it's gone down. Now the question for me is, how quickly can you get another AD in place, and what's a reasonable timeline for that?
I was asked, I asked this question, Craig, about whether or not could they move forward. One, they have to make sure everything legally is where it needs to be, but and that's just a matter of the agreement and the two parting ways. But yet they can't. That Dr. Livingstone can make a move if she wants to, if it comes to anything else outside of the AD job, with, of course, the thoughts about the future of Dave Aranda.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the logical conclusion, and Pete Thamel's now had this, and why we're starting off with this was, I mean, you had your side of the report, but now Pete Thamel has come out here in the last few minutes and has basically said that, yeah, the expectation is that Mac will be talked about later on this afternoon and will most likely be parting ways with Baylor Athletics. So getting the exact verbiage that he had, Baylor's expected to soon announce the departure of athletic director Mac Rhodes. He's on leave from the school for personal reasons, and the sides are planning to announce he's stepping away immediately. So that was the follow-up to what you had earlier. But, yeah, he's a guy who did a lot of good for us and was – a really good interview on occasion. I think, they kind of started to get closed in towards the end these last couple of years. I don't know what really dictated all of that, but it just felt like they were kind of trying to go their own direction in terms of like insulating their coverage almost to a way and really kind of blocking people out, almost to a degree. And so felt sort of separated from him these last couple of years compared to when he was like a weekly guest, but he gave us a lot of time and we'll always appreciate that. And the brief interactions that I had with him, but I said it on Twitter, I don't think there's any question they had to make this move. And I felt that way last week when the other news started to trickle out, and just given where the fan base is right now, the apathy, given just where athletics is, where nothing's really excelling at this point in time. Like we'll see in basketball, but like no one cares about women's basketball right now for the most part. I'm just being honest about that. And men's basketball has their fandom, but we know that will come and go as success comes and goes. So like if they are really, really good, then the folks will be there. And if they're not, then eventually that will start to dissipate as well. But my point being, there's just nothing that's like riding high at the moment. And 3-4 years ago, it seemed like everything was. And it's just been a slow and in some ways a quick just kind of downward spiral to where now you've got not stories about losing, but stories about people and interactions and getting into it with a player and then whatever these personal reasons are. And it's like, man, yeah, now's the time. You've got to make a clean break. And I think that they're making the right decision.
This is a very interesting fan base because they've been through a lot. It's, it feels like it's always something with Baylor. It's all the last 4 ADs have all left, not of their own accord, so that's all that's happened here when it comes to athletic directors alone. They've held the Scott Drew and the basketball program hostage ever since he made his first NCAA tournament. Like, he's the best coach that Baylor's ever had in any sport. Well, I guess Kim Mulkey, but he's one of the best coaches they've ever had in any sport. And he still has to kind of beg for them to keep on keeping on in spite of being a national championship winning coach. And then the apathy with the football program. So the next athletic director has a big job, especially when it comes to football, and not just hiring a coach that's going to make the fans excited, putting on a game day product that's going to make the fans excited around the stadium, on doing all those things and reviving what has been a very dead pre- and post-game scene as well.
We used to have Mac on a lot, but 35 times a year, and then that kind of dissipated about 2 years ago. 3-9 in football will do that. It wasn't a very good time. I remember when I was told, and all of us, that we were making to get him maybe once or 2 or 3 times a year, and then that even was difficult. I do remember one time, and again, for a lot of what he did, from the time he took over during the shrapnel from Art Briles and Pepper Hamilton to much more, and a lot of what he did for the Big 12 when they were trying to gain teams, not the first 4 that came in, but the Pac-12 schools that were going to join, that he was on the phone for 8 to 12 hours with Mark Harlan over a couple of different days, and a couple of days later, that finally became official with Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. But he screwed up. And one of the things that I remember asking him, and it was the only time in the time I've known him, we've known him almost 9-10 years, where he was pissed. I said, are you so involved in a lot of these national committees, the Big 12 Advisory Board, about to be college football playoff spokesperson or just a part of that, and the Big 12 realignment? And I said, are you able to take care of your own backyard? And he felt like I was taking a pot shot at him. And some people might have thought that way, but maybe that in the end was also he just was worn out, no excuse for what he's done. But that was kind of, to me, the legacy of Mack Rhodes.
Yeah, I think he started having his hands in a lot of different projects. And, there's the whole element of, it's not just that. That's not, the only thing that is potentially at play here. I mean, there's the personal issues, whatever those are, that were also having some effect. And if nothing else, were against what Baylor stands for and what he should be doing in his role as director of athletics. So there was a combination of, I think he got stretched out with having a lot of different things on his plate. And then whatever was going on off the field, people can assume or fill in the blanks or what have you. But it's a weight that he eventually couldn't carry, and it was becoming clear that he was reaching a breaking point, because you start having altercations on the sideline with players. I mean, no athletic director should ever be doing that, and you could have just fired him right there if you wanted to, but they downplayed it. Like, everybody there seemed like, no, it's cool, we're over it, and it's like we're going to move past it and it'll be fine. But then the next Outkick story drops, and you're like, okay, no, there was something else clearly than just that, and it's not something that you can come back from, or something that you can just move past, like the Trig deal, where maybe you go, all right, well, there was a disagreement of some sort, or something like that. And even then, you could, again, have said that was enough to draw a line if you wanted to. I just don't think that we ever had specific details until it was already kind of down the tracks and they were trying to move forward once again. And then this was very quickly after, and just derailed any chance of that happening. So, he has to look in the mirror, and he's got to get himself and his personal life in order, whatever that entails. And I wish him and the Rhodes family, especially his family, nothing but the best, because I know that there's a lot of probably secondhand embarrassment and just whatever there may be within that relationship that needs to be repaired or worked on or what have you. So it sucks for his family to be collateral damage in this, but, that's how it typically works. People make bad choices and bad decisions, and it's not them that always takes the brunt of it. It's their family or friends who had nothing to do with it, unfortunately. So I hope he gets right, and I hope that Baylor Athletics goes ahead and finishes this discussion later on this afternoon, and they can come to an amicable agreement where both parties can start anew, because I think that's what's absolutely needed for both parties right now.
I tell you this, when I was speaking to a board member last night, it was very clear that this was a matter is imminent. The other part of it is that they want to be very aggressive in what they do. Now, what they can do, or who is available, or what they can possibly, as far as who's next, obviously the Dave Aranda decision is like next in line once the ink is dry. And that is the next one. And as soon as the possibility, if you don't win the game in Tucson on Saturday, you might be looking for a football coach as early as on Sunday, which would be the normal thing to do if that happens, because you have a home game coming up. It's a holiday weekend against Houston, and you might not have 10 or 12,000 people inside McLean Stadium.
Well, it would be wiser for them to, and I don't think the Arizona game should determine what you're going to do or not. If they beat Arizona, you shouldn't all of a sudden go, oh, he'll fix it. Everything's better. I think you should probably already have your mind made up on that. And now that you do have to bring on a new AD, since Dave Aranda's future is nebulous, then I think that you could just go ahead and let him go, so that you don't put that on the new athletic director. Have to come in and fire him. He just gets to come in and hire.
Yeah, I think the Dave Aranda thing feels like inevitable as well at this point. Now, it may not be, because there might be contractually some things that are too tough to handle all at once, perhaps. But I think this, like I said last week, the timing's ripe for them to just make a clean break from this era and to start anew and start down a different path. I think that's needed. I think being there at the game last Saturday, and not being able to, I won't be at any of the remaining two because of Thanksgiving break. I'm not going to come back just simply for that game against Houston, but I'll be watching, and then obviously not going to go to Arizona this week. If they were like 10-1 or something, maybe we'd be out in Arizona, like if it was worthwhile to go. But I think that the crowds have kind of already stated their cases and have been for a couple of years now. The support has waned tremendously, and there's just a complete lack of excitement surrounding the program. And I don't think that there's anything winning-wise they could do at this point to really change that. Even if they were to win these next two games against Arizona and Houston, I don't think that changes the feeling whatsoever. If you make a bowl game, I think it's one of those years, man. I'm telling you, I've heard this from I think I came across like a Kansas State fan or something that said this, where it was like, yeah, they could technically make a bowl game. I don't want them to make a bowl game. Like, I don't want to drag this out any further. Like, I want it for the players, but if I'm a Baylor fan, I don't blame you at all if you're like, I don't want to see them go to the postseason because I just want to get on to the next thing. And if it were the old era where bowl games meant a lot more and you're building for next year and all that, that'd be one thing. But it doesn't feel like that's really the case right now. So that's still technically in play. And maybe reeling off 3 wins and finishing, what would they be, like 8-4 or whatever? Or no, like 8-5?
5 right now.
7-5.
8-5
They
is the
finished
best.
8-5 with a bowl game.
Yeah.
That'd be the exact same thing as last year.
Yeah.
With a team that was supposed to be competing for the big, so I just don't think there's anything substantial that you can really wrap your arms around. And I mentioned it the other night. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to find a billionaire that's going to suddenly go buy you a bunch of dudes because you're losing Sawyer Robertson and you're losing Michael Trigg and you're losing Josh Cameron and you're losing guy after guy after guy after guy. There's nothing on defense to speak of, which is your specialty, mind you. So you just look around, you're like, what is there? I just think this Mack Rhoades situation maybe came at the proper time for just a whole complete break. We'll see, though. I know that there's contracts that, again, have to go over that might complicate things, but not surprised to see Baylor make this move. We can get to Aranda whenever that occurs, if that occurs. But as far as Rhoades goes, and I know it's not completely official yet, but it sure appears like it will be. I think this was just the logical outcome given recent events.
Yeah, and that's the way you do it because you want your football coach to be hired by what you hope or who you hope is your next AD. But I don't think, and I don't know if they'll have the replacement in place or anyone promoted and or brought in for that. So, but this was the obvious step. And when I reached out to a couple of different people, I was surprised at how forthcoming they were to me about, we're meeting tomorrow at 4, and that's on the schedule. That's on the docket.
Well, especially given the last few years where everybody's been just like not saying much about anything, and you never really get a feel for what's going on. And now it's like, everybody's like, I think everybody understands the timing of this thing and that there's a massive need for change right now before it's too late to change. And this is a program, much like many others in the Big 12 in particular, and some in the ACC, where you look at the timing of things coming up in the next few years, and like there might not be a Super League cutoff or anything along those lines. There might not be a cutoff whatsoever. But if there is, you better have your ducks in a row. And even if you do, it still may not matter Kansas State or Iowa State or Baylor. But you better position yourself to be ready for whatever is coming when the new TV deals begin and get negotiated. And the way that they're trending, it's nothing but downward right now. They in 2021 had the greatest year you can imagine. Basketball national title, football best year ever, Big 12 title, Sugar Bowl title. And that was the year we'll always remember. These last 4 years have been awfully forgettable in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, how much longer do you continue down the same path before you look back and you're like, damn, it's been 7 years. We've just been doing this with nothing happening. And so, I think, again, the timing's perfect.
The timing, by the way, the Baylor board and all the others in the decision-making process, they did not waste time. Now, sometimes there was even thoughts. I had people, they're going to wait and this. No, they aren't. And once the ink is dry, then it's official. But they could have let this linger, and sometimes you would have thought maybe they probably would. Nope, they're pulling the trigger. They're moving on, and now they have other to-do lists to get crossed off in the next week or less, I think, in my opinion, and in theirs too.
I think that I'm very shocked that they moved this fast. It's not really a Baylor tradition to make swift decisions.
Well, now's the time to break tradition because tradition hadn't been doing anything for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also have felt over the last few years that there were like certain ththings that happened that didn't have anything to do with one another, but they used those as cover for less access because I think we got less and less and less and less. And it was like, well, we can't talk about this anyway. So you're like, okay, well then we might as well not talk to you. Like, well, we can talk to you about other things. Like,
we're not that interested in those things.
Yeah, but so there you are, the story with Mack Rhoades. The meeting was supposed to be and is, in fact, just around the corner, but I'm sure there's a lot of working the room, et cetera, the phones, and much more throughout the day, and has been really since probably, when was it, last Thursday or Friday, when all of what was reported about Mack outside of the incident with Michael Trigg and Jared Anderson. So there we are with that. If you want in the chat room, and if you're watching us on Twitter at 365 Sports YT, we have some guests coming up at 3 in a row with Sam Kahn, Max Olson, and Taylor McCard. But let me know what you remember the most, and how would you look back at the time with Mack Rhoades as the AD at Baylor? Do you remember all the things he did to get through the shrapnel and also the conference realignment? Or are you mad because of some other decisions other than what he made personally in the last, how many, we don't know exactly how long, but since it became official about a week ago. Again, if you want to on Twitter, tag me, or in the text room, text line, tag me too. So there's that. Then there's also coaching news, right? Or at least maybe. Brian Kelly fired by LSU. The governor basically is the one who pulled the trigger, and both verbally and also with the firing, and then went after the AD and Scott Woodward. Brian Kelly's lawsuit, they're meeting the Board of Supervisors on Friday. That's tomorrow. And you wonder if they're like, oh, damn, we thought we could kind of maybe just out the door. But Kelly, of course, has dug his heels in. This will be interesting to see. They wanted to pay him like, what, 9 or 20 or whatever, how this is going to end up. They'll write the check, whatever it might have to be, but they're going to try to make sure it's not too high.
Okay, so here's the timeline. The governor, and this is where the governor really screwed up. He fired the coach and the AD essentially in one fell swoop. And then he starts talking, and he starts answering questions. And he was asked what was the reason he was fired. And he said it was strictly performance-based. So that's what the governor, whose house they had the meeting at to determine to fire him because there was no president in place at the time, said. So then they are trying to negotiate Brian Kelly's buyout. And they say, okay, well, how about we do this for half of the $54 million or whatever they said. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then they came back and said, well, we fired him for cause. And then everybody's like, well, what's the cause? They're like, that's a good question. And so now they basically have set themselves on a path to have to pay the full $54 million because they tried to do this very twisted and shady.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And so now they're going to try and see if they can get out of doing that.
He may have cost him about $25 or $30 million. He needs to be under a little bit of pressure.
Well, I'm glad that he called their bluff and didn't just take their offer. And who would have? It would have been moronic for him to take a much lesser offer than what he was contractually obligated to receive, given their decision. And they screwed up from the very get-go with how they handled the messaging of it. And I'm sure that will be part of the evidence put forth by his side, saying, here they are, right when they're announcing it, basically saying this is because of performance. And now they're trying to say that it's not, even though here they are basically saying that. So I don't know what all they're going to compare and whatnot, but the board's going to meet on Friday and hold private discussions about the lawsuit, of which he's seeking $54 million. And in a brief announcement Thursday, LSU spokesman said the Board of Supervisors will meet at 9:15 in the school administration building. And after a public comment period, the board will then go into executive session, a secret meeting that they can discuss lawsuit strategy and other sensitive items. No action can be taken in the private sessions, but the public portion will be live streamed. If you want to check that out, you can find a link for it. And they'll be determining how to move forward. I don't know really what great options they have because of what was already put out there to begin with. And here I am, like a lot of other people, wondering how the hell I'm rooting for Brian Kelly in this situation. So, it's a weird deal, but LSU brought this upon themselves with how they handled it to begin with. So, I think this will be very interesting to see what, if anything, comes out of that.
Yeah, he should get all $54 million.
Well, he's going to get more than he probably would have, and I'm not sure if he gets the whole full meal deal. But at the same time, they're meeting about that tomorrow.
If they had simply just negotiated in good faith, which it didn't appear that they were doing, if they had always intended it, like at the first sign of trouble, to try to run this end around, if they just done that from the beginning, they could have gotten out for a little bit less. But I think you also have to, and look, Brian Kelly and his agents and lawyers know this. I mean, I know there's a lot of coaching jobs open, but is Brian Kelly a hot name to go get another job like James Franklin would have been? No, he's not. And so Brian Kelly better get all his money because maybe he's done. I don't know. I think somebody will eventually hire him again, but you have to, I think every time you have a major situation like this, you have to, face like you might be your last big job. And if you've got 54 mil, go get your 54 mil.
And so his mouth, and he was being hot shot, politician, whatever, is going to cost him tons of extra money, it appears. Now,
and he may not ever want to coach again.
No,
so you really need the money if you're not planning on ever coaching again.
Remember the one, I forgot who it was, somebody that covers LSU told me, and it wasn't Mike Scarborough, but that they feel like he will. No, it was Phil Bennett that said he may not ever coach again because of obviously his age and this may be worn out with it all. He wasn't a big fan of NIL, and he just takes the money and goes in retirement. Good. Go to Cabo. Go wherever you want. Go to the Rocky Mountains. Enjoy your life. And that is a possibility we might see there. Again, it's in his blood, though, is coaching. Lane Kiffin, coaching is in his blood. This is an interesting story that if, in fact, and I get it, that if, in fact, he was to leave or any kind of announcement, report, whatever, that he leaves Ole Miss before they get to the college football playoffs final rankings that Sunday, the first Sunday in December, could that, in fact, affect Ole Miss's seeding wherever it was going to be in the first place? Why not? If you have a quarterback who's hurt and it affects your seeding or getting into the playoff with the 4 teams like Travis.
That would never happen, right?
Florida State. Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Travis, that hurt Florida. So if your coach leaves, that's also destructive and might affect where they get seated if, in fact, that decision comes down.
I think that's about the only thing that you could compare it to. Like, that's the only other situation because, let's just say it was Ndamukong Suh level defensive tackle was the best player on the field, and he got hurt in their second or third to last game. That wouldn't keep Nebraska or that team out of the playoff. Big-time running back, big-time wide receiver, but the quarterback did. It certainly did in 2023. And a coach, especially given the fact that when a coach leaves, it's much more of an absolute free-for-all than when players leave or players get hurt. I mean, so, yeah, if he's going to Ole Miss or he's leaving Ole Miss and he is going to be at LSU or Florida instead of Ole Miss, and they're going to have an interim coach, and then you've got a bunch of people thinking, am I going to the portal? Am I staying at Ole Miss? And all these other things going on. I think it should affect their seeding.
It should. I read this initially. But Craig, there's no doubt, Paul, there's no doubt. It absolutely has to affect where they're ranked.
I'm sure Pete Golding or whatever choice they would make would be great as an interim and maybe the full-time guy to replace Lane Kiffin. I don't know. But, yeah, this absolutely, if Jordan Travis is going to affect their decision-making, then I think that should absolutely translate to your head coach leaving as well. Even though it's not on the field, it's the guy who's the architect of everything that is on the field and off the field. And so if he's suddenly pulled out of the picture for health or for his own choices to leave, then that should be taken into account. No different than, Jordan Travis getting hurt. Now, luckily for Ole Miss, the playoffs large enough now where there's no chance they would be 13th no matter what happens unless they just fell on their face in the Egg Bowl or something. But, yeah, I think that this is initially when I saw it kind of like a what? And then you think about it and you go, yeah, like if you suddenly pulled Nick Saban out of Alabama right as they're about to enter the playoff, that makes a big damn difference no matter who your assistant coaches are. So I think that if that were to, in fact, be the case, it is logical. It makes sense that you would ding them a little bit for that. But that's something that I hope for Ole Miss's fan base's sake that they avoid. And I can't imagine we get to a scenario 2 weeks from now where this still is undecided. That would just not be fair. And if he's doing the greatest troll job ever, and like a lot of us think, he's just doing this all to set up this big super announcement for Ole Miss to really take them to another level, then he needs to time that right, and it can't possibly last to where you're already talking about the playoff beginning. I mean, that's just not feasible. That's not something that I think his next employer, if in fact he has a next employer, would want. And certainly if your plan is to stay, why would you do that? Why would you not make that announcement like after the Egg Bowl win or something along those lines? But that to me would be like the last possible time you could do it. So I mean, we're all waiting on bated breath to see what he does because of the chain reaction as much as anything. And because it's Lane Kiffin, so there might be a little bit of a car crash element to this whole thing because you go, like, surely he won't. And then you go, Well, it would be old Lane Kiffin to totally do something like that and just say, yeah, all right, I'm going to LSU. So, yeah, I mean, we're all waiting, and we'll see what happens here, but it's got to happen here pretty soon.
One note from Scotty B on the legacy of Mack Rhodes, despite how it ended. I'll remember him for being the AD at Baylor to take over the mess in 2016, transformed Baylor both on and off the court and field. This is besides, of course, what he did with realignment. When we come back, Sam Kahn, Max Olson, Taylor McCarg, and more from you. Thanks for your time. For those of you watching in Twitter land at 365 Sports Y2, we appreciate it. And also on YouTube at 365 Sports. We have Garrett Ross. We have Brandon Rowe. We have Andrew Valade. And, of course, we are here with Paul and Craig. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor alumni, here's the schedule they have coming up. And, of course, no game at home this weekend, and that's probably a really good thing. But they do play Houston to close out the year. The day, the weekend after Thanksgiving. On the 29th of Saturday, they'll have the tailgate set up at the Baylor alumni tailgate area across the pedestrian bridge. Doug Furch and Paul Thorpe heavily involved. They'll have the Milo set up, the food for you. Also, giveaways, water. If it gets hot, it may be freezing then. I don't know. The weather can change in Texas. Also, they'll also have much more when it comes to registering for prizes. Pick up what you want when it comes to the colors you want to put on and wear that day on whatever else you're already wearing when you showed up. They will help you promote any event you have if you're a Baylor alum, whether it's for sports or athletics or anything else, by contacting Baylor alumni, Paul Thorpe and Doug Furch. Go to Facebook at Baylor Alumni Fan Engagement.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all-lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And, of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire, and performance. Move mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, PettyClinicLowT.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, joined us on 365 Sports. We'll get to a lot of what's happening this week with college football, but obviously the official news, although I don't know if the ink is dry, but Mack Rhoades, no surprise, Sam, out. Baylor acted pretty quickly here. Now you would think the next move will be whatever they decide and win with Dave Aranda.
Yeah, that's the question is, I guess, how does this all work from Dave Aranda's standpoint in terms of the administration making a decision? Is it going to be current administration making a decision? Are they trying to get another athletic director in to make the call on Aranda? Because it's obviously more ideal to have an athletic director in place who has hired the football coach. So if they're going to make a decision on that front, it would, but it seems really tough to do that with less than 2 weeks left in the regular season. So I don't know how quickly you can get a deal done for an AD, but certainly Aranda's future is going to be front and center for the school and the football program, regardless, here in the next couple of weeks after these next 2 games get done. So it's going to be interesting to watch for sure.
Sam, I think personally that they should. I mean, nothing's going to change with Dave Aranda should they win the next game or whatever. I mean, I think that you kind of know where you're going to be. I would rather, if I was the new AD, not have to fire somebody and just come in knowing that my first gig is to hire the football coach.
Yeah, I get that, but I think my thing is who's making that decision to make the hire? If you're moving on, like if we all feel like the school is moving on, which I don't think would be a surprise. Where that search goes, that's the interesting part, is who's making that call, how is the search run, what candidates are you bringing in, and how also, if you're a coaching candidate, how comfortable do you feel coming in where you're not hired, you're hired by the school, but not by the AD you're going to be working for, who's ultimately going to make the decision on the next coach's future whenever that time comes. So that's what, to me, makes this all kind of a little disjointed and fascinating, is trying to get all those moving parts to work together.
Do you have anybody in mind that you would suggest to somebody? I mean, there's kind of the obvious. I think Oklahoma State, you're kind of in a race for Eric Morris right now, potentially. GJ, is he ready at this point? Texas State isn't having the best year. Jeff Traylor, not the greatest year, but he's got a lot of skins on the wall. Is there anybody else outside of kind of those obvious names that have come to mind if you've thought about this at all?
Yeah, Eric Morris would be number one on my list if I were Baylor, just because I think you could do a lot worse than Morris, just because of his track record of recruiting and developing quarterbacks is really good. You see what he's done in North Texas and building them into a potential playoff team. You saw what he did at Incarnate Word. He built that program. They were not really very successful when he got there. They were a very young football program when he got there, and he built them into an FCS playoff team, which is no small feat at that level. And so he's got established head coach experience. He's got the Texas ties. He knows the state. He loves the state. So he can recruit here, and he knows how to build a roster, clearly, because North Texas does not have a lot of money to spend, and they're toward the bottom of their own conference, and yet they've gone toe-to-toe and won a lot of football games in that league, despite not having the resources that a lot of their competitors have. So he would be my number one. The other interesting one I would throw at you as an unconventional, to some degree, at least in terms of the regional ties, I wonder if you would give a call to Casey Keeler at Temple. who I think has done a terrific job there in his first year. We know what he did at Sam Houston. Not to say that, hey, we're going to go down the road of Baylor hiring the Temple coach again, but it worked out pretty well the first time. So I think that guy's a winner, and he knows this state because he's recruited and won a national championship at Sam Houston, was very successful in this state, knew how to recruit the Texas high schools. So I think you could do. I think Casey Keeler is a name that I don't hear thrown out a lot, and I don't know if he would leave Temple after 1 year, but he's a guy who I think is one of the best pure ball coaches out there.
You know what, Sam? That's I love that you brought him up. I don't know if that's even a radar with his name blinking or not, but he's solid. He wins everywhere he's been. He knows Texas because of his background. Is that a big enough name? I don't know. What is a big enough name? Honestly,
the only thing with Keeler is that he's from the Northeast, and so the move to Temple is kind of going back to his home region.
That. Yeah,
so
he talked about that.
That's the thing that I think would be the biggest sticking point with that. But if I were in charge of that search, I would absolutely give him a call if I were Baylor.
Sam, the rankings came out. Games this weekend. There's only just a handful. There's not a lot of great ones, but there are some. But what are your thoughts? What would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 that two teams in the Big 12 get into college football playoffs?
I put it about a 5 right now. I think there's a good shot. I don't want to say it's a great shot. And unfortunately, this is because of the rhetoric that goes around now where we see everybody lobbying for their own conference. And, the SEC, obviously, we know the discourse there. But having BYU and Utah being the first two out right now, I think is a really good position to be in. And so if those two teams take care of business and they win their next two games, then both of them you would figure to be in the bracket. However, one of those is going to be in the Big 12 championship game, could potentially take a loss to whoever they face, most likely Texas Tech. And so that becomes the question to me is how does the committee weigh a loss in the conference championship game against a Texas Tech? I think if you were to lose close to Tech in the conference championship game, if you're BYU or Utah, I don't think it kills you. But if you get beat the way that Texas Tech has beaten each of those two teams this season, it might hurt you, even though in theory being a conference championship game should not hurt you because it's an extra game. But certainly the road is tougher for BYU because they've got Cincinnati this weekend. I think it's a little bit more feasible for Utah, but I think they do have a shot. It's just a matter of can they take care of business really in these next 2 weeks.
Sam, what do you think that ESPN, your former employer, by the way, I know used to work there, but I know that FCS games and games like the SEC special this week are, at least at this time of year, going to evaporate in the 9-game schedule. What do you think ESPN thinks about having its biggest property 2 weeks before the end of the season have half their teams playing duds?
Oh, I wouldn't bet on it evaporating in the 9-game world because you know what's going to happen there. I think a lot of those teams are just going to stick that 9th conference game earlier in September and still stick SoCon Saturday in late November because for all you want to criticize the SEC about, and I don't love this tactic, everyone plays an FCS opponent, or most schools play an FCS opponent. It was a stroke of genius for the SEC to do it when they do it because it's I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's almost like a bye week for those schools. And at a really good time in the calendar when your team is beat up, when your team has gone through a meat grinder, so to speak. And so I don't love it. And I don't think ESPN loves it. Like, are any of you guys excited to go watch SEC teams play FCS teams on the second to last week of the regular season? Are you excited for Texas A&M and Samford? Are you excited for UGA and Charlotte? Can I interest you in Coastal Carolina and South Carolina? Maybe that one might be interesting.
Yeah, that might be a little bit closer.
South Carolina's found a way to lose every game under the sun. But Auburn and Mercer, I'm interested in Auburn and Mercer because Deuce Knight's going to start. But other than that, I mean, what are we talking about? So I don't think certainly ESPN likes it. And if I were, doing the ratings or if I was in charge of the media rights for this, I would not want this. But Greg Sankey and the SEC coaches and AEDs are going to do what's best for them. And so I don't know that this trend is going to go away anytime soon.
So, Sam, what do you think of all of the discussion around Steve Sarkisian that he basically took a fire hose to yesterday in a couple of different, I think, sessions and just, I mean, completely stamped it out, although I'm sure there's a flickering for somebody somewhere that, this will come back around. But it seems like it's almost Texas media being too big, that they're trying to find something, because I just don't see it. I don't see the timing of it making much sense. Or do you see it? Do you see Sark? He is out there looking around and whatnot. How do you just kind of digest the conversation over the last couple of weeks surrounding him and the Texas job?
Well, I'll say this. When you listen to the SEC teleconference yesterday, you had two very different approaches to job-related questions. On one hand, you had Lane Kiffin doing his best to not say anything of substance, and then you had Steve Sarkisian very emphatically saying, I'm not going anywhere. And those are two different approaches, and I give Sark credit for the approach that he gave, the approach that he had to this and trying to stamp it out. And this is not the first time. When the report surfaced earlier this year, that of course, by my employer, The Athletic, Diana Rossini reported it, that there were some NFL teams, some mutual interest potentially. He stamped that out pretty quickly too, with his agents coming out with a statement on the record, basically denying it. And so Sark, for all you want to say, give him credit. He's been consistent on this front. Now, do I think that if an NFL team came and offered him a job that he would just shut it down and not consider it? I think any college coach, if they get offered an NFL job, would consider it at this point, because the NFL is a lot more structured and it's a lot better quality of life if you're a head coach at this point, because you don't have to recruit. The calendar works better because you have the season, then you have the draft and free agency, and all that stuff is segmented. Whereas here right now in college football, Sark earlier today was talking about how other teams are trying to tamper with his players right now, using these job rumors as fuel for that. So he's trying to beat Arkansas and A&M and win these last two games to hopefully maybe find an outside chance of the playoff. And oh, by the way, you've got to fend off other teams trying to poach your players, which is not something you have to deal with in the NFL. And so I say that all to say that life in the NFL, even though it's a higher level and it's the top of football, there is a little bit more, it's a little bit easier to manage your program, so to speak. If you're a head coach, there's a lot less on your plate. You have a front office that runs personnel. You have a GM that does the draft and all that. And so you don't have to be the one doing all those things. Whereas in college football, you do. So do I believe Sark when he says he intends to stay here? Absolutely, I believe him. He's got a great contract, by the way. He's got a huge buyout, I think, if he were to leave. But I do think that there's a lot of coaches, and it's not specific just to Sark, but to any coach, that if an NFL team calls and says they want you, how could you not be interested when you consider the ease of life that it is in comparison to all the duties you have as a college football coach?
Yeah, just look at Matt Rule at Carolina and the big fat check he got, even though it didn't work out. Yes or no, or what was more remarkable, that A&M came back from 30-3 down, or that A&M was actually down 30-3?
I think it was more remarkable that they came back because, I mean, I was a little bit more shocked by how badly they played. Like, some of those turnovers were really egregious. I mean, I was watching. I was like, what was this, Twilight Zone? I couldn't understand what I was watching because I had not seen them play that badly. But it still wasn't as surprising to me that South Carolina was ahead, because if you watch that game and you watch South Carolina, there's a lot of NFL dudes on that roster. Like, I had said this to a coworker that day when the game was going on. I was like, it's malpractice that this is a 3-6, 3-7 football team. There's way too much talent in South Carolina to have 3 wins at this point. Like, there's multiple guys on that field in that South Carolina team that are going to play in the league on Sundays. So Dylan Stewart eating up A&M's offensive line, certainly not a shock. Lenore Sellers doing what he did, certainly not a shock. Nick Harbor, who's an absolute freak, running, like the track star that he is past everybody, wasn't surprised by that at all. It happens because they have real dudes on that team. But when they got down 27, I thought, no, there's no shot. I thought down 17 they had a shot, but when they got down 27 points, I was like, this is a little bit too much. But then 2 drives into that third quarter, once they got to 30-17, I was like, oh, they're going to do this. Like, the momentum had shifted so much and they had gotten it together that I almost felt inevitable by midway through the third quarter that was going to happen.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time, Sam. Sam Kahn, who did a great article Colorado, the general manager, and much more. He's been doing that series. Get him on Twitter or go to athletic.com for more information on the articles he's written. He had a co-one with Antonio Morales. Max Olson coming up next. This is 365 Sports. Want to keep it here? All right, we have Max Olson from ESPN. Max joins us on 365 Sports. Max, thanks for your time. Well, we didn't think the Mack Rhoades, tenure was going to last many more days, and apparently it's just a matter of ink being dried. In your opinion, do you make that move now without knowing who you're also going to hire when you do move on to a new football coach?
Yeah, no, I think it's been pretty clear for a week now that Mack Rhoades was not going to return as the AD at Baylor. I think the interesting question now, as we're getting down to it here, is sort of how quickly can the leadership at Baylor make a move on making an AD hire, because I think that obviously it's an extremely important and well paid position, and you've got to do the process right and find the right person for Baylor and for Waco. But, obviously when we all know the AD's fate is tied to the football coach in a lot of ways. And, there's going to be situations right now, like if you go hire Jared Mosley from North Texas, you can get Eric Morris and probably a lot of players from that roster too, if you make a move like that. But how quickly can you get these things done? Because, if you're Eric Morris, you probably have a chance to go be a head coach at Oklahoma State or several other places here. So how quickly Baylor can make a replacement and get things moving. And then obviously how quickly they find a replacement and then make a determination on their own football program. I think that's got to happen pretty quickly here.
Max, I asked Sam, I'll ask you, would you rather come in and fire the football coach if you're a new AD, or would you rather come in knowing you just had to hire one?
Well, would you say that the results and the apathy are there that you could certainly justify it to the public to start off, couldn't you?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's tough when you're, certainly a lot of times an AD comes in and they're like, hey, I got to give this guy some time and I need to really assess the situation and take the temperature here of what the stakeholders think, what the fan base thinks. And I mean no disrespect to Dave Aranda when I say this. I just think that, when an AD agrees to take the Baylor job right now, I imagine they're going to have an answer to whoever's making this hire on here's how I would handle the football situation. So, I think that obviously, yeah, there's an order of operations to this stuff, but I think if you're an AD considering the Baylor job, that's going to be part of the interview and part of the conversation is, what would you do about football? Would you bring Dave Aranda back, or would you go hire somebody, and who would you hire? Like I said, we're in late November now. So, whoever you hire has got to have some pretty good answers here, on what you would do. And if Baylor can't make a hire in the next few weeks, then, that probably answers things for you from a football standpoint too.
Max, there is potentially more jobs joining this already long coaching carousel line, and that's been going on now since early part of the season, because that's just the nature of things now. But we did see a big job filled after a couple weeks of speculation with James Franklin officially being introduced at Virginia Tech and taking that job. I know that, like, on paper, we grade these things every year. Like, oh, that's a great fit. And it's always just kind of hit or miss. But man, this feels like the biggest home run Virginia Tech could have probably hit at this point. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I've covered a few situations where we everybody agreed, hey, that's the perfect move to make, and they didn't work out. And, I think there's challenges at Virginia Tech, obviously, that have made that program less relevant over the last decade than they were in the decade before it, right? I mean, there's stuff that Franklin is up against there, but I agree. I think it's an A+ hire, and quite frankly, I think it's a fascinating situation for Penn State now, because James Franklin is obviously in the process of taking his staff members with him to Virginia Tech right now. Like his GM and his chief of staff are already going to Virginia Tech today, right? And so they're going to take their recruiting class over there to Virginia Tech. I think they're going to probably take a bunch of transfers from Penn State over to Virginia Tech. And so I think that just increases the pressure when the coach you just fired is 6 hours away and is, going to go get off to a good head start here at Virginia Tech. I think it raises the pressure and the anticipation for Pat Kraft and Penn State on, who are you going to hire that the fan base is going to feel like, yep, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. If you're going to move on from James Franklin, that's the right guy to get.
Do you feel that James Franklin, obviously in the press conference we saw maybe a more energetic guy than we'd seen in the past. And a lot of these schools, Max, have kind of admitted that they weren't supporting the football program to the level that they need to compete for conference and national titles. Virginia Tech amongst them, and that was the big guarantee they gave. Do you see James Franklin making tweaks to his style to get them over the hump, or is really his style fine? It's just he's got to learn how to be a better in-game manager than he's been.
Well, I mean, certainly it's going to take a process of getting the roster right. And that's one thing that, when you've been at a school for 12 years and you've recruited year after year after year, and you've recruited, like his experience in that region helps a ton, but it's going to take a process of rebuilding that roster a little bit and getting what they're looking for. But I think the opportunity is great. I mean, I think you look at the ACC and I think traditionally you look at it and say, okay, Clemson and Miami and Florida State, like those are who we're trying to catch up to and stuff. But, I think you're seeing this year, Virginia, Virginia Tech's rival went out and spent a lot of money this offseason on their roster, and they're in the top 25 and competing to play for the ACC championship. And I think obviously Florida State's down right now and Clemson's down right now. And I think you kind of feel like Virginia Tech, like, man, if we can get this right and have a really good offseason, you feel like you can get back up into that, top 4 or 5 in the ACC pretty quickly, I would think. I would imagine, as James Franklin surveyed the landscape of potential jobs that are open or could open, I think you have to look at Virginia Tech and say, man, I think the opportunity is pretty good here because we know how to do what we do here. And in this conference, if we get the financial investment, I think we have a chance to, be in the upper echelon of the ACC in short order.
Max, the games this week, there's only a couple of ranked on ranked, like Mizzou and Oklahoma, for example. USC Oregon's another one. I know everybody kind of has their different timing of when they start to really pay attention to the playoff rankings and all of that, but we are down to the final 2 weeks. So what are your thoughts on some of the quibbles and some of the things still to be decided and potentially some things that can be cleared up this weekend?
Yeah, not a ton this weekend. Obviously, with the SEC teams generally playing their easy games this week. Obviously that race gets decided next week to a large extent, and not so much this time. But I think obviously it seems like the conversation has been around the Miami Notre Dame conundrum here, right?
Yep.
And how do you guys feel? I think it's. I've done the mock selection, so I understand the explanation of, well, they're not in the same group, so we're not using that head-to-head comparison in just automatically doing that. But, it is going to kind of get to the point where it's a little silly, the gap between those two teams with the same record.
I think Miami's going to have to force their hand, but they can force their hand by winning out. And that would be the way where if they go win the ACC, there's no decision to be made. They would have to be over Notre Dame. But for right now, you can't justify, well, yeah, they beat them, but then they turned around and the timing of their losses bites them now. But I think Miami has control. And if you weren't to reward them for winning out, then I think that creates one of the biggest controversies we'd ever have in this thing. I feel like it can be settled, but I understand the angst on the Miami side for why is it this way right now, even if it can work itself out.
Yeah. It's there's always something, and usually there's always something that that gets explained in a way that is not satisfying to anybody, and that's just part of this process, whether it's 4 or it's 12. It was good to see Texas Tech move up to 5 this week. I think that's deserved. I think they should be ahead of Ole Miss, and I think that puts the Big 12 in a good position here. And as you saw from the bracket, if you land on the 5 and you're hosting a Tulane or a G5 champ, it's a great situation for the Big 12 to be in. Obviously, when you got Utah and BYU right on the doorstep there, super interested to see how this plays out here this weekend with BYU Cincinnati.
So
I wonder. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to ask about the ACC, Max. You want to have a 17-team conference? This is the mess that you create.
No doubt, and certainly to the schedules too, right? I mean, I think that was a little bit of the problem with how to judge SMU last year is SMU got to play really bad Florida State and didn't run into Miami and didn't run into Clemson until the conference title game, and so the unbalanced schedules are just and here's my rant for the week, guys. Okay, I have no doubt you feel the same. These conferences, all four of the power conferences, they need to be proactive and set up their own websites, and they need to be the ones accountable for explaining to the public how these tiebreakers are going to work.
Yes.
Because I've done the work, I've been doing the work for years on that stuff, and there's great websites that pop up and people that do all the calculations. I would love to see the conferences own this stuff and be in front of it and update it on Sundays and say, here is the situation, just so everybody, it's clearly laid out for everybody, and it's not up to reporters or fans to do all the calculating and create all the scenarios.
In fact, Greg Wrubell, who's the voice of BYU, put up the tiebreakers after contacting the Big 12 and asking them to send it to him, even though there's rules and bylaws that he had to ask, and then he put it up. It was the first time anything like that was up.
Well, if they were smart, they'd be using it to promote the hell out of the BYU-Cincinnati game, saying like, hey, this is what BYU's got to do, and this is a must-win, and that whole angle. But you're right. They kind of just don't touch it until I guess they have to. But meanwhile, we're all scrambling trying to figure it out. So there's obviously an appetite for it, and I want to know how it all works.
Yeah, last few years, there's been folks who, so on the Big 12 side especially, there have been folks who have created websites that have let you kind of toggle different results, and here's what it would spit out. And I got so much appreciation for those guys. But this is something that the conferences created this mess by expanding like they did. I just would love to see them get in front of this and say, okay, because of this, here is the situation for this week, as opposed to reporters having to call and say, hey, did anybody clinch, or what are the clinching situations? Like, I wish that was something that was just out there for everybody to see, because I think we're at a point right now where every league is dealing with it.
I agree. And the Big 12 has been a lot better. Of course, they've had a change with Clark Williams now at SMU, but Matt Ensher's
Big 12 did a good job of this
Yeah.
last year, I thought, in getting in front of it. I agree.
And even when they release the standings, they show the 5 teams like every conference usually does. But then even Yormark had a statement. Now, people can sit there and try to pick it apart, but he had a statement. He goes, I told everybody this is what we're going to. And now it still comes down to they got to win games. They got to win games, not against each other, but eventually against others as well.
We knew we were walking into this during the whole last realignment phase, but this is the environment that was created, and it was basically unavoidable. You could sit there and say, if you're like a Oregon State fan, of like, well, you should have just not touched the pack, but it's one of those situations that once somebody busted open the door, there was 5 others behind them ready to raid the rest of it, and it was going to happen one way or the other. That was very clear, whether it was the Big 12 making the first domino fall, or it was going to be the Big 10 or whoever it was. And the dominoes started falling with, if we want to talk about that specific period, OU Texas. But there's been different chapters to this thing, and I don't think anybody ever really loved the idea. I think it became so tribalistic, though, of like, it's like Risk. Like, we want your territory now. Like, we'll deal with how we sort it all out later, but we got to go conquer that territory first, and then we'll worry about it after the fact.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago I covered a game. It was Texas at Iowa State. This is when Texas was kind of first going on that run with Sark, and they won a tough November game in Ames. And I remember they were all celebrating on the field. And for the folks covering that game, we could not tell, did Texas clinch a trip to the Big 12 title game or not? And it was just kind of like, I think we've got a lot of that now, where it's just like, we're covering, even the folks who were at the game are like, wait, so what, now that they've won this, what does that mean? And I think there's gonna be a lot of confusion around that here this weekend and next weekend. And would love to just have the stakes very, very clearly laid out, especially with, I think there's some situations in the SEC where it's like going to come down to strength of schedule, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be some nuances here, as there always are, that for these conference championship game matchups that are tough. I'd love to see divisions again, and some structure to the scheduling that makes it fair. But this is the mess we've created.
It would be interesting to take the standings today in all of the conferences and put them in divisions, even though some, of course, gotten bigger, and see where it would be. See who would be playing whom in whatever conference it might be. It is interesting to me. You have teams that hate each other, Texas, OU, A&M in Texas, and there's others, K-State, Iowa State, whatever, KU. And yet it seems like there's become so much tribalism among the conferences, the fans, et cetera, even the media, Max, that you have teams that hate each other, but when it comes to the conference, they will fight with each other like you can with brothers and sisters, but don't you fight with my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see even in the new version of the Big 12. I feel like that has already picked up, and maybe part of that was just the way the Texas and OU left, uniting people together a little bit during that period. But yeah, no, I agree. Especially as we get into this playoff stuff, where you've got Big 12 and ACC are just feel like you kind of have to constantly fight for your territory in this stuff and for your respect, because there's just not going to be a ton of years where both conferences get two, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the current format. So yeah, I think I agree with you. You definitely notice that. I know social media is just a little bubble, but I feel like you see it on there all the time.
Max, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Enjoy. Are you going to watch the landscape from your friendly confines, or are you going somewhere?
No doubt. Yeah, I'll be home this weekend. But looking forward to the Big 12 title game here in a couple weeks.
I love getting up early on a Saturday, maybe even trying to play a round of golf depending on the weather, and getting back at about 10:55 and 8 to 10 hours of nothing but college football on the flat screens everywhere. I can't wait to do that myself. Thank you very much. Max Olson, ESPN, with us. And by the way, his latest stop rate came out again. Tech was at the top. And if you look at a lot of the teams that are in the college football playoff, there's a big chunk of them that are a part of the stop rate on how often does your opponent not score at all, or not score among the various drives that they have in each game and each week and week out. When we come back, we'll have Taylor McCarg and a couple of other nuggets. We are 365 Sports, and we do appreciate you because you're a part of that with us. And thank you for your time. If you have not hit the like button, please do, and subscribe if you have not. This is 365 Sports. And I got a note from my good friend, Don Chumidor and Coffee Beans. They have been working, Joshua's been working on a website, he and Cheyenne, for a long time. And about the time they felt like they had it ready to go back earlier in the fall, then guess what? Well, there was some legal things they had to make sure they worked out based on what you could put up on the website when it comes to cigars and even, for example, gummies, CBD product, and more. Got all that worked out. You can go online now, DonChumidorWaco.com. Don's Humidor, Waco.com. Fully functional website, and let everyone know about it if they also smoke cigars. This is just released today. This week. You can use the coupon code SMOKEY, SMOKEY, like Smokey the Bear, SMOKEY, at the checkout and get a 25% discount, full 25% off the entire cart of what you put in there, whether it's cigars or accessories or more. 25% off. Don's Humidor, Waco.com. Use the code word SMOKEY, SMOKEY.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here we go, 365 Sports, and Taylor McCarg joins us, CBS Sports. We appreciate, Taylor, your time. Thank you very much. We'll get to the game you have Saturday. That is an American Conference game in just a moment. But your thoughts on where we are with what A&M did coming back from 30-3 down. What were you more impressed with, the fact that they came back from 30-3 down, and that South Carolina looked like the team a lot of people thought they were when they were up by 27?
Yeah, I would say more impressed with the fact that Texas A&M figured out a way to win that game and hold South Carolina scoreless in the second half. I mean, forget SEC play. If you get down 30-3 against anybody, I mean, the likelihood of pitching a shutout in the second half and going on that run. And I think it was also, for as poor as Marcel Reed looked in the first half, and then turning it around. And, most of that production was made up for by the end of the third quarter. But, it's a testament to the character of that team to stay in the fight and not just completely tank in the locker room. Because I certainly didn't think that they were going to come back in that game. Because, again, they were moving the football. But I go back to the decision-making from Marcel Reed and a couple of the throws, especially that interception in the red zone, where you're just saying, man, this is not their day. They were out of sorts the entire first half. I thought they came out incredibly flat in that first quarter and thought that this was a South Carolina team that maybe were not going to have the fight that they obviously did, but still incredibly impressive. And for Texas A&M, I mean, it's all but locked up that they will be, I think it has locked up now. They will be in the college football playoff. I don't anticipate them losing to Stanford this week. And even if they were to lose to Texas the following week, we will see them in the postseason. And so, already a special year for the Aggies, but man, that could have been the end if they had lost that game and then lose to Texas. I don't think that two-loss team with that loss to South Carolina would have gotten in.
Taylor, what does it tell you about their sustainability in the playoff?
Well, I think in the playoff, you're not going to come back from 30-3 down. So I think if you're Mike Elko, you're looking at your guys saying, let's let this be a learning lesson and let's make sure that we don't at any point the remainder of the way come out that flat. I don't even care if it's against Stanford. I mean, this is a team in Texas A&M that's too talented to have a lull like that. And you would imagine they'll be more sharp and focused when they get into the playoff. But for Marcel Reed especially, I think he can't have even a quarter that looks like that from that first half from last week. That can't happen again, because for a team I do think they are talented enough that they can win the national championship this year. They've got the roster to do it, but they are not so talented that they can just roll their helmet out and beat anybody, especially once they get into the college football playoff. So I think if you're Mike Elko, obviously you're thankful that they came back and figured out a way to win. And you've got this story now to be able to tell them and say, look, let's use this as motivation, because if we have even, again, a quarter that looks like that with how it did against South Carolina, you do that in the playoffs, you're beat, and that's the end of your season.
Do you think A&M is the best team? I know record-wise right now they are. Do you think they're the best team in the SEC? And if they are, then what is your second-best team? And if they're not, who is the best team in the league right now, in your opinion?
I think Georgia is the best team in the SEC right now. I think that's the team that Georgia and Ohio State would be the two teams that I would want to face the least right now out of anybody in the college football playoffs. I think the way that Texas Tech is playing, you could make an argument with how A&M looked a week ago. I think there's an argument that you could say I'd rather face A&M right now than I would Texas Tech, especially if you're having to go to Lubbock. Now, we all know the environment that Kyle Field will be if they end up hosting a home playoff game. That is going to be an absolute hornet's nest. But I think right now A&M's the second best team in the SEC. I think Alabama dropped them back. I think Oklahoma is interesting because they continue to find ways to win. That stretch that they just went on in league play on the road with both of those wins is incredible. I think they're also still not very good on offense. So I wouldn't be tremendously concerned about I shouldn't say that. Oklahoma is a team that they could beat anybody because of how good they are on the defensive side. But if you don't have sloppy takeaways like Alabama did, then I think most of these teams that you'd see in the playoff would beat Oklahoma on a neutral site, especially if they were at home. But to me, I would have Georgia at the top, and then I'd have A&M behind them.
If I would have texted you on Saturday night and I would have said it's 14-10 Georgia, Texas had just scored, and Georgia had 4th and 2 at their 36, what is going to be the final score and who's going to win? Would you have said, oh, no, it's going to be good, 35-10 Georgia?
No, I thought that we would see a low-scoring game. I thought you would end up with something in the neighborhood of 20-10, 20-13, something where it's around that one score, maybe 10-ish points kind of line, and Georgia ends up pulling ahead and staying ahead because Texas, they are what they are on offense. It's just a limited offense. I think I have this right from earlier this week. Saw that the Texas in league play in the SEC, they're dead last in rush offense, and so not being able to run the football across the league, it doesn't matter really who they've played in league play. And then you have to go on the road to play at Georgia, who has maybe the best front in the SEC behind, maybe they're behind Oklahoma. But no, to your point, Texas the defense kept them in the fight. And then for Georgia, the way that they pulled away, I think speaks more to the testament of the depth that they have right now and the quality. And it also, again, just shows that Texas, I think it goes in spurts, it goes in waves for the Longhorns right now. And until they figure out a way to, if they can figure out a way to run the football, which I don't think they're going to fit. You're not fixing that in season. I think they are what they are. This is not a playoff team. I think it's a shame because they've got a really dynamic defense that's a national championship caliber defense, but it's just not matched on the offensive side. And if you're one dimensional, Arch Manning gets so much criticism this season, but I'm not sure that it really would matter who's at quarterback for Texas this year with their inability to run the football. You're not doing any quarterback any favors.
No, I think that was a thing that a lot of people overlooked, that you lose 4 starters in the offensive line, that, it's not just going to be plug and play anymore. Taylor, if you were Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin is kind of taking this tour right now, would you be stressing out, or do you think that they feel comfortable knowing that he's going to come back and this is him just playing LSU in Florida?
No, I'd be tremendously stressed out. I don't think Lane Kiffin, for his experience in his life and his coaching arc, so to speak, of everything going back to the Raiders and Tennessee, I do believe that Lane Kiffin is a different person, a different coach from who he was 15 years ago. So for him to go through this process, I don't think in any way is bluffing. I don't think he doesn't need to, because he's already got all the leverage with Ole Miss. If he didn't, Ole Miss would, giving an ultimatum to your head coach that's out looking around and saying, we need an answer by the Egg Bowl, or what? I mean, are they going to fire him? I don't think that Ole Miss they've got zero leverage at this point. So I would be stressed out. I would be surprised if he left for Florida right now. I'm not convinced that Florida is that much better of a job, if at all, than Ole Miss. And for LSU, if they didn't have some of the silliness and chaos that's been created by Brian Kelly, and you don't have an athletic director right now, and Brian Kelly's suing the school, I still think LSU is one of the top jobs in college football, but is that soured in this cycle? I don't know. But if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I've got 2 brothers-in-law that are Ole Miss fans, and I promise you they're stressed right now about what's going to happen with this cycle, because it's looking more and more like he's leaving.
So one other thing on coaching, Deion Sanders, with all his health issues and just their struggles in general, I think it's fair to just speculate of like, man, can his body hold up? Like, can he be in this fight for much longer? What's that all going to look like? But it seemed like this week, without rubber stamping it, that he basically said, hey, I'm going to be here and we're going to fix it and we're going to get it all corrected. Where do you start, Taylor, for the Buffaloes, and how can they try to turn into a team that is back at a competitive level and with him in charge, kind of right this ship, I suppose?
Yeah, I would start with that if Deion walked away this season and they went 3-9, that he still has left Colorado in a better place than when he found it. And I think he deserves a ton of credit for all of the attention and the positivity that has been brought. Sure, some of it, you could make negative headlines about anything, but Coach Prime has done a great job of bringing a spotlight to that program, which was not that long ago. This was at the bottom of the Pac-12 for a period, the bottom of the Big 12. And now, even despite this season really not going well for them at all, look at the channels that they play on. Colorado doesn't ever get flexed to ESPN Plus, even when they stink. And I think that's a testament to they draw attention. People want to watch Coach Prime, and I think that's important. It's important for your NIL. It's important for your fan base. I thought, and I have no insider information, I just assumed with everything that you mentioned that at the end of this season that he'd probably hang it up and say, for a number of reasons that have nothing to do with football, maybe he was done. But credit to him if he's going to stay in the fight and come back next year and say, hey, we're going to fix this thing. Because a year ago, they have some success, but they've got a Shedeur, and then they've got a Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. So there was some talent there a year ago that's not there right now. I think if Colorado's going to have a chance moving forward, they've got to fix the O-line play. They've got to go out and spend money in the portal to get top offensive linemen and play better defense on the other side. But to me, it starts with the offensive line group. So surprised that he's coming back. Again, I had no insider information. I hadn't talked to anybody there, but I thought that this would be the last season for Deion. And if he does come back and tries to build them back, give him a ton of credit.
The Big 12 needs them to be good, don't they?
I think so, but I also would say that the Big 12 is in really good shape right now from a health perspective. And Brett Yormark, I mean, look at what the disaster that the ACC is in right now. Right now, your top team, Miami, in terms of the college football playoff ranking, they're not going to play for the ACC championship in all likelihood. And so you're going to end up with one team that it's still not out of the realm of possibility that the ACC champion is behind the American Conference champion. And so just the health of the league for the Big 12, having 5 teams that are ranked, 3 in the top 12, and one that's a top 5 team, that if Texas Tech were to win out and they keep that 5 spot and they're playing a G5 representative in a first round, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better season with the Big 12 if they can sneak a second team in there, especially if somehow they get a third in Utah. So I know Colorado being better helps the league from an eyeballs and brand perspective, but the Big 12, this is by far the best year since the league has expanded and since the college football playoff has expanded.
Yeah, 3 in the top 12, even though 11 and 12 really aren't 11 and 12 because of others who would be inserted in those spots, but it's very healthy, and now can they finish it?
Yeah, Taylor, I think Texas Tech feels really good about winning these next 2, but there is this Cincy BYU game. It's in Cincinnati. Brennan Sorsby's not been playing well. Cincinnati's been in kind of a funk, but hey, it's still a road trip, and you never know with a young quarterback and all of that, as good as BYU has looked at times. What do you think about this game, and how wary do you think the Cougs should be rolling into the Queen City?
Well, I think Cincinnati's certainly capable of winning this game. They're plenty talented. I think there is a blueprint that's been laid out for how to beat Brennan Sorsby in that offense. And if you go all the way back to week 1 against Nebraska, you look at their loss against Utah and against Arizona, Brennan Sorsby does not throw the ball well when there's good man coverage. And I think that got him against Arizona. His second pick of the day, he tried to force it into a man-free look that he just should have never thrown it into. He struggled against Nebraska tremendously. And Utah did a great job getting after the quarterback. So I think for BYU, this game, and for all the great things that Bear Bachmeier has done as a freshman on the other side, this game to me is about the front for BYU, and can they play tight man defense if they decide to run that on the outside, which they're capable of. If they don't, and Cincinnati jumps on them early, if that offense gets rolling, I mean, think back to how they ran through Iowa State a few weeks ago, and I know BYU is a better team than Iowa State, but if they get some momentum at home, this absolutely is a Cincinnati team that's more than capable of winning this game. I think BYU will win this game. I don't think that if you look at the one loss for BYU this season and how Texas Tech beat them, it was all getting after the quarterback and getting them to 3rd and long. And I don't think Cincinnati is going to be capable of that nearly to the level that Texas Tech is. So this should be a really competitive game. I love that it's a night game. Nippert Stadium at night is a great environment, just a great college football environment. But I do think BYU will win this game.
You have UTSA and East Carolina. East Carolina at home can be really, really tough, and they can be tough to beat at other times. Jeff Traylor and UTSA had the big win against Tulane, obviously got smoked the next game, but where are they? Are they trying to get bowl eligible, and how important is this game for Traylor and the Roadrunners?
I didn't know. I hadn't done a UTSA game in a couple of years, but UTSA has the best home record since 2022 in all of college football. They just don't lose in the Alamo Dome. It's unbelievable. And in league play, I should have this memorized since our game's in 48 hours, but it's either 14 or 15 league games in a row that they've won, going all the way back to their days in Conference USA. So UTSA on the road, they have issues. They turn the football over. McCown makes some poor decisions when they're not in the Alamo Dome, but when they're there, they just don't lose. And so for East Carolina, we had calls with that staff today, and they talked about, you can see on tape, UTSA looks like they just have a different gear playing at home. So I think UTSA is a more talented team and should have a better record than they do right now at 5-5. But they also they should benefit from playing in the Dome. And for East Carolina, they had a huge win against Memphis. Quarterback play has been much better for them this year with Keaton Hauser. So this should be a great game. I think this will be a one-score game, barring some sort of crazy turnover stuff like Tulane did when they played UTSA a few weeks ago. But this also has potential. I'm not saying that East Carolina can still get into the college football playoff. They've only got one loss in league play. If they were to win the American and JMU were to slip up, it's not out of the realm that East Carolina could still end up sneaking into the college football playoff.
Thanks for your time, Taylor. Enjoyed. Travel safe. Thanks for your time. We'll talk to you next week. Well, I don't know. We may have a condensed next week because of Thanksgiving. I'll be in touch.
No, y'all are welcome to call me on Thanksgiving. We'll catch up.
There we go. Taylor McCart, CBS Sports with ECU. East Carolina down in the Dome against UTSA, the Roadrunners. And he joins us normally, really whatever day he can, because he mixes up where he could be doing a game on a Wednesday, a Friday, or Saturday. But this Saturday, he does have Roadrunners against ECU.
Since you just brought it up, yes, we have Monday and Tuesday next week, and then we're off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's nice to know. Now,
we told you like a month ago.
That's not nearly what I heard. That's not what I heard. I hate taking days off. Now,
you can live stream from your apartment if you want to on
I might
Wednesday.
do that. Garrett? Look at
Garrett's like, no, not player.
Look at that.
No, not player.
That's a glare from hell right there. All right. When we come back, we need to make our college football picks. I fell in the toilet last week and gave everybody an opening. We'll see how much of an opening. That's coming up next. We have some other news and notes as well. Plus, today we have Craig Smoak and Off the Radar and Kobe Carthel, head coach at SFA, in an interview we recorded yesterday. They're playing the Demons of Northwestern Louisiana tonight on television. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Fastest growing pizza brand in America, and 5 locations of Marco's Pizza in the Waco area. There was none just a handful of years ago. Bob Mock was here. He's been a part of the pizza business since he grew up delivering pizzas. And if you've ever been a part of that business, it's pretty cool. I did that my senior year during the summer before I went to college. And then when I'd come back a couple of years in college, I'd come back, make some money, deliver pizzas. Really enjoyed it. Then every once in a while, oh my, I got to learn how to make them inside the store and then, of course, send them on out. And it can get hectic on a Friday or a Saturday. Or when we were around an Air Force base like Randolph, when it was payday, the pizza delivery orders getting on the base were like it's fast forward. It was so much fun. If you want to be a part of the pizza business, if you want to own a franchise, get in touch with Marcos.com. They have them available because they are the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash.
You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
It is time for our pick'em segment, which has moved around a little bit because now Smokey's not itinerant anymore. So let's recap last week. Smokey's long-time trauma with the University of Texas. Heard him here.
Yeah, I did it. I did it. And Craig has warned us about
I knew that
this.
was going to happen.
I've been warned about this, and I fell for it because, damn it, I like Paxton.
Hey, even in the game, like during the game, you text me like, "Here they come back."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Have you watched the damn Bulldogs one time?" Like, this is what
I
they
watched
do.
the whole game, but when they picked off the pass and scored, I'm thinking they're going to win this game. I was wrong. I only lost a point of one game in the standings, and Craig now is way damn too close.
Yeah, I mean, that Navy game got all of us. I mean, congrats to Brian Newberry and the midshipmen on the big win over USF. That was a good one. So, yeah, that was a game that bit each one of us and throws the race for the G5, G6 into just further disarray. Mm-hmm. But, I thought long and hard about going with the Sooners, but I did not learn my lesson from the last few Bama games, and now I'm going to pick them against Bama every time until they prove me otherwise. I should have done it this last time based on recent history, but that was one where I felt double bad because I should have gone with the guys that I know best, but that showed a lot to me last week, and that was a great win. So regardless of whether I got it right or not, I was happy to see that result.
Yeah. So Craig, you need to have more faith in your team. I did it earlier in the year. I picked them once right and then several times wrong before my team started sucking so bad that they don't even deserve to be on this segment. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, I was one of those like, okay, they beat them last year. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it again this year. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But Bama and Texas have similar problems. Bama's just better doing other things in that they both can't run the ball. They cannot run the ball, and I don't – like for Alabama's sake, I will never understand it. Okay, so let's go to the first game. OU against Mizzou. I got the Sooners. I think they're playing too well right now. Mizzou's got a backup quarterback. He did better last week than he did against A&M, but also this defense with a true freshman quarterback should probably feast.
I'm going Missouri. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with Oklahoma here. I think they're just playing really good ball. I mean, great ball defensively right now. And to have, again, I mentioned him a few times, and plenty of people have, but to have Sandell back there being able to boot consistently 50-plus yard field goals when you need him to put some points on the board, and just having like a leg that you can trust is a really big deal in college football. It's becoming probably a little bit more common, but to have a guy that can be elite from long, I think is just such an ace in your back pocket to have. So both of those sides of the ball, special teams and defense, came in handy last week. The offense needs to pick it up a bit. And obviously the running game is what it is at this point. But, yeah, I like Oklahoma at home, all the momentum that they have. Mizzou with the backup quarterback, as you mentioned, still. So give me OU there in Norman.
I'll take the Sooners. They find a way to win. The defense gives them a chance every time they play. Texas drilled them, though. A punt return also, of course, was a part of it. But they are just dangerous enough on offense. They still – I don't even know how sometimes they score, but usually it's because the defense does, or they set them up with right on the porch of the end zone. I'll take the Sooners.
Next up, Louisville against SMU. I'm picking Louisville in this one, even though they're on the road. They've got pure desperation here, and the rest of the ACC really needs them to beat SMU, because SMU could find themselves right back in the title game again. But I'm taking Louisville in this one for no other reason. To me, it's a toss-up game anyway. Both these teams are really even. Louisville's not been playing great lately, but I'll take the Cardinals because I think that they might be a little bit more desperate and focused than SMU.
Give me the ponies. That Louisville-Clemson game was one of the worst football games I have watched in a really long time, especially when you're talking brand-name teams. That was utter garbage football on both sides for both teams. I mean, that was fun to watch from an outsider's perspective. If you were a Clemson or Louisville fan, you were ready to just end football season right then and there because of what you were watching. And Clemson somehow comes away with that victory, even though they attempted to hand it to Louisville over and over again, only for Louisville to hand it back to them over and over again. Yep. I mean, it's just bad football. It was awful football, but highly entertaining bad football. They've dropped a couple in a row. You're right that they're desperate, but give me Kevin Jennings and SMU at home. I just think they're the better overall team right now, and they're in a spot where, as much as Louisville is desperate, I mean, SMU's right there with a chance to get into the ACC championship game. So they have a lot to play for at this point, and they're coming off of a couple of wins. Now, granted, it was a bad Boston College team, but it's also Miami here recently, whereas Louisville's lost a couple in a row. So, yeah, give me the ponies.
I'll take Louisville. I just like saying that. Louisville, I'll take Louisville. That conference is just
you picked SMU. Are you switching?
I think – hold on. I got the picks right here. I have them right here. You guys go on to the next game, and we'll decide this. Andrew's done this to me before.
Okay.
I picked SMU. Go Ponies.
Okay.
All right. This segment, by the way, brought to you by Shady Oaks Nursing Home. Shady Oaks. God. We're going to have a new resident for you soon.
I can't help myself.
Yeah. At Nippert Stadium at night, we've got BYU versus Cincinnati.
Hey, can he switch? Can he take SMU?
No.
Can he take Louisville?
I'll take SMU.
Okay. I was just trying to find my way in. I feel good.
Clark Williams, the president, that thing. And lastly, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. God. Again, Nippert Stadium at night. Going to be a tougher road environment than a lot that BYU will play in. They're too good. Cincinnati's flailing of late. I got Bear Bachmeier, big dumper football version, taking this one.
Yes, I will go ahead and take BYU as well, and I think they're just a better football team at this point in time. I think that Cincinnati certainly has a pathway to an upset. I mean, every game technically, except for some of these SEC specials this late in the year where it's a 40-point blowout. But, I mean, other than that, college football is so parity-ridden that really in the Big 12 too, anything is possible. But I just don't like the way Cincinnati's been playing of late. I think they're going to be able to get to Sorsby and have him make some mistakes. Now, the path for Cincinnati includes Sorsby having like his ace of aces game. And if he can do that, which is much easier said than done against this BYU defense, then there is some magic that can happen. I just don't trust that he can, and I think Bear Bachmeier and company will be able to grind away and get a typical BYU style win here to position themselves for one more week until that trip to Arlington.
Yeah, BYU, solid as a rock. They travel, although not to Lubbock. They forgot about that because Texas Tech is so good. I think what was it? Utah that broke Cincinnati when about the time they were like getting right back in it. So I'm going to take BYU to win the game. I got to stop you guys for a second. I don't know if this is breaking news or not. Did somebody bring up the fact that a conference should have some sort of tie-breaking website?
Max did.
Yeah.
They have one.
He's talking about the Big 12 itself should have one.
They just released that at 4:23.
Well, thank you for listening.
All of you guys should have it in your inbox. Big12sports.com/tiebreakers.
All right.
Good for them.
When did he say that exactly?
He would have been on earlier than that.
4:22.
Yep.
Was when so if he was saying that at like 4:16 or something.
No, it would have been like
about
4:05. Yeah.
Thank you, Big 12, for listening to this show. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
As we knew you did anyways, but especially now we are certified that you're watching.
How about that? I actually was paying attention.
Yeah. Not to the segment we were doing.
Yeah, no. Glad you're checking your email while we're making picks.
No,
but
so, I mean,
Oh, hey, I just got my Verizon bill.
You cannot be perfect.
No.
right.
No. Look, you can't hit the pitches every single time, but when you do, you hit them.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Pitt versus Georgia Tech. This is one of the most ridiculously important games in the country this week. And because the ACC is an absolute mess, I think Pitt got a little bit exposed last week when they played Notre Dame. I think Georgia Tech has this similar physicality on both sides of the ball, and that'll be tough for Pitt to stop. Still a really fantastic season for Pat Narduzzi and the Panthers, but I think Haynes King gets it done, and the Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech takes this one.
I have to go with Haynes King, especially when the counterpart is a true freshman quarterback in Mason Heinschel, who, had his hands full last week, to say the least. Maybe that leads to a bounce back of some sort, but Georgia Tech at home and with the senior leadership and just the aggressiveness and grit of I know that word's probably overused, but I don't think so when it comes to Haynes King. It's like the perfect word to describe a Haynes King, and it's more than just him, to be very clear. But, I like Georgia Tech top to bottom as a football team at home. Veteran quarterback versus young guy on the road. Give me the Yellow Jackets, especially as this ACC race is heating up. And they're both very, they're in the conversation for how it could all work out. But Georgia Tech, one of those teams, they're on a playoff spot, man.
Georgia Tech has the easiest path of everybody.
Right.
So all they have to do is win. And I guarantee you the ACC is not doing a damn website. Theirs is too confusing.
They would need to get some Harvard mathematicians to figure out how to do that.
Need Evan Miyakawa to do that. Yeah.
All right, Smokey, who you got?
I'm taking Haynes King. He had a conference call yesterday for Texas media, but we were live on the show. I thought they were going to send us a link of the replay so we could peel some of it off, maybe for tomorrow, but I'll take Georgia Tech.
All right, let's go to the next one. Oregon and SC, I'll take the Ducks, although, man, Lincoln Riley has done a fantastic job with Jaden Maiava, and he is starting to reclaim his quarterback guru nature, if he ever, in fact, lost it. But I'll take the Ducks in this one. I think they're just deeper and better, and it's at home. But SEC has impressed me this year. Unfortunately for them, they shouldn't have lost to Illinois, and this will be their third loss and knock him out of the playoff.
I think I'll go with Oregon there at Autzen, and I do like that SC's been a bit better than we expected, and I think it was funny to see Lincoln Riley, ever the sour ass, to sit there and you see his comments on game day, like they didn't believe in us in the preseason, so why should we care that they're hosting game day? And I get it, and that's typical coach motivation. I mean, there's been far less things that coaches have motivated their teams with than that level of disrespect. But I mean, it's a nice spot for Southern Cal. Do they like that term or not?
Roger Dodger and Fight On. Will you guys give me an idea? Because I've been told I love Southern Cal, and I just always have called him that. But if you don't like it, it may just be SC or USC. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Dante Moore is going to put another exclamation point on trying to pad his Heisman Trophy candidacy, and I think the Ducks are in a spot where they are at home very good, and I just think they're a better team than USC is at the moment. So I'm going with them, and obviously they've got their fingers crossed and hoping that there will be some type of a slip that they can find their way into that Big Ten title game again. But looks like it's pretty low percentage at this point.
I really like USC has at least been much more towards the end of the year, much more involved here and relevant, because we at times forget about them. But at Autzen Stadium, I'm taking the Ducks.
Okay. Do we have another one? Or is this was that the last one?
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So Craig's a game ahead, game behind me. My stupid pick of Texas.
Gain. You need to go pick Louisville is what you need to do.
No, I did not. See, I don't even know. I know we returned the picks, but I never look at those. But Paul is at least above 500. You're coming back.
I'm chipping away. So for the first time in my life, go Cards.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Based on what we saw last week, that's easier said than done. But it's the ACC, so who the hell knows? They probably will win.
It's the ACC. The two great coaches, Rhett Lashley and Jeff Brom, two of my favorites. But we'll see.
All right. By the way, the Mac Rhodes news, Craig?
Yeah, this would be a good time for a breaking news stinger because we do have some breaking news. But
by the way, we're getting one of those.
Good.
Had a meeting about it today.
Great, because we could use it right now. But breaking news. Baylor AD Mac Rhodes has formally informed school president Linda Livingstone of his resignation. A Baylor spokesperson tells Yahoo Sports that was Ross Dellinger with that out there, and I don't know if anybody else had it. He was the first that I saw to put that out officially. So Mac Rhodes is gone from Baylor, and they will now be searching for a new athletic director, and that raises the odds, possibly a football coach. We'll see how that goes, but certainly we can bank that there will be a new athletic director in Waco. So let that search begin if it hasn't already.
Somebody in Baylor Athletics responded to me just now. By the way, I'm going to do this. What do you want to say? When will they pull the trigger if Baylor loses in Tucson? Will it happen with Aranda on Sunday?
I don't see why it shouldn't at this point. They would still have the ability to beat Houston and go to a bowl game, but man, I just feel like that's delaying the inevitable. And I just don't think there's any coming back for the fan base. I just don't think there's anything you could do. Are you going to hire new coordinators? How many times have we done that? 2-3 times on each side of the ball?
Yep.
You going to go spend in the portal? You spend in Texas Tech, Ohio State, Texas money? I don't think so. So is it going to make a huge difference than what you already have? Not probably overall, very much if at all. So we can go down the list further and further. Is you going to a bowl game going to bring fans back for the next big game at home that they never win, where they're on like an 0-11 straight ranked or whatever? I don't know but it's like close to that. It's like 0 and whatever for their last several top 25 games, and those at home in particular. I just don't think there's anything, like I said last week, to really build on, and not to mention the talent dump that's about to occur with Sawyer Robertson and Michael Trigg and Josh Cameron, like all of your best players with the exception of Bryson Washington, who I'd imagine DMs are full and have been for a few weeks now as they've struggled. So, yeah, I don't see any other way forward than to
if they lose. Tucson.
I just think
win. Hell,
I think you're delaying the inevitable at that point. So I won't guarantee that, but I do think there's a very good chance. I would not be shocked at all if that were the case if they were to make an announcement this week or at the end of the weekend.
I just don't think that winning the next two games should matter at this point.
No,
like you should have already made up your mind. It shouldn't be if, but when.
It should not be in year 6. Getting to 6 wins and making a bowl game, especially when the expectations, and I'm not going to do the whole Sark thing where I like Sark, but he got super in his feelings. And well, whose expectations with the media, right? I don't think that those are always fair, but I think in the case of Baylor, they did nothing to downplay those, and they gave no reason why that shouldn't have been the feeling when you have Sawyer Robertson coming back and all the guys you went and got in the portal, and Spavital came back to run this great offense. And really all you were hoping for and expecting was that Dave Aranda was going to improve the defense, and the defense is worse. So what are you building off of? Again, that's the question. And to me, there is no foundation any longer that makes sense. And so you might as well just go ahead and start anew, especially if you're already making this choice, as you have now officially, to start with the new athletic director. We know that goes hand in hand. Athletic directors very rarely, if ever, come in and just have that football coach hang around for years and years, unless you're like Nick Saban or something. And Dave Aranda is no Nick Saban.
No, it's time. Winning, just all that does is not kick the can down the road. But if they don't win in Tucson, then I think you got to at least take a breath for a second. But I still think the writing is on the wall. And by the way, Dr. Livingstone officially releases a statement. Just got that from Baylor.
Would you take a breath just because you don't want to fire a coach after a win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you fire him after a win.
I don't think it matters to me.
If you have somebody to replace him and you know you have your replacement, yes, you can. But if you win the game, I think you can then wait until you know for sure. He's going to be gone. I don't think it matters either way, but I don't think, like, if it doesn't matter that you should go like, oh, you just won, bye. I think you just say, like, coach out it's one more week. Like, just let him give him the dignity to coach out the end of the season. And if you win, then you're going to a bowl game too, Paul. So that would complicate things. I don't know how that would work, but they got to win in Tucson first, and I'm not banking on that necessarily. So we'll cross that bridge on Monday if we need to, and talk about what that Houston game could or could not mean. But that's to be determined. We know Mack Rhodes is gone. That's what we do know now at this point. I want to share. I'll just read the first line from Dr. Livingstone, and then Craig has off the radar. I want to share important news regarding the athletics leadership at Baylor University. Mack Rhodes, Vice President, Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, has informed me of his decision to step away from his position at Baylor effective immediately. While transitions like these are never easy, they provide an opportunity to reflect on the significant impact Mack has had on our university. That way, he gets, obviously, there was some sort of agreement that they signed, whatever it was. That's between Mack and Baylor eventually, a private institution, so that'll be interesting to get a lot of that information. They go on to talk about many things of what he accomplished. We know why he's no longer the AD. Effective immediately, that job search begins. In fact, probably had begun even a few days ago.
Well, I said last week that they should already have been getting their ducks in a row and having that list that everybody in administration who's going to make a call on athletics should have at all times. Like Mack Rhodes even said that he always had a coaching list that was ready to go at any point in time. If there's a scandal that hits and you need to pivot, he's got a list. If a guy just wears out his welcome, you need to pivot, you got a list. Like if any scenario presented itself, you've got a list. And so I think that they should have a list, and if not, they should have known the last few days to start putting that bad boy together, seeing the writing on the wall. So, yeah.
Ian McCall said the same thing, and if you're in that position, you got to have your, what happens, options 1, 2, 3, 10, or whatever it might be. So it's official. Mentioned earlier that they had a meeting. They were having a meeting at 4, and Mack Rhodes no longer the AD at Baylor. When we come back, Craig Smoak off the radar. SFA's Kobe Carthel. They're playing in about an hour and a half against Northwestern Louisiana. And we'll have the wheel, the top 5 quizzes and poll results. A lot to get to. This is 365 Sports. I've done them all. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store on Lake Air Drive in Waco with the Bauer family. Love them to death. We've been endorsing them for over a decade. Tailgate, no, nothing this week, but maybe you're going to go to a game where you need tri-tip or brisket or sausage or chicken. And then again, let's look even past that. There's a game in a week against Houston, but let's talk holiday food. Turkeys, hams, and on top of that, all of what you need with seasonings, marinades of what you need for Thanksgiving, people coming over to the house during the holidays, or even Christmas parties too. Waco Custom Marketplace, if you want to get a hold of them, give them a little bit of time. Maybe they could put together a plate or a platter of what you need. They have it with all the produce, with a full-service butcher shop and bakery too. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store on Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. Special is subject to credit approval and membership eligibility. Visit GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Time for a little Off the Radar. And it looked like old Sports Media Watch and me were beefing still because they did not have the TV ratings ready to roll. And then suddenly they did. Almost like they could sense the problems that were going to arise.
Max Olson and the Big 12 tiebreaker website.
Huh?
Like Max Olson demanded the Big 12 tiebreaker.
Yeah, I guess we just talked it into fruition or something like that. But they did eventually drop these a little while ago, just in time, though, for this segment to be able to take a glance, as we typically try to do on Thursdays, at the TV ratings, and not for like any big narratives or told you so's or anything other than just it's interesting to look at. And there are sometimes positives and negatives that come with that. But it was nothing but positives for the SEC, especially in light of the fact that you had some things being worked out with YouTube TV. So for the first time in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, you had everything back in order. And, well, everything back in order is ABC back at the top of the charts after last week. I think it was being the first week where they hadn't had at least 2 of the top 3 of the broadcasts for each weekend. The Big Ten had slipped in there. Well, now they are back to having the full podium with the top 3 broadcasts from last weekend, including 2 massive games. And how does it get any bigger than Oklahoma, Alabama, and Texas, Georgia? That's part of many reasons why that you brought in
each other.
What?
They led into each other too.
Yes, they did. But that's part of the reason why you brought those schools in, was for massive eyeballs and to have big matchups like this. And so you got a couple of big matchups and you got a couple of big ratings as well that, yes, led into each other as well on ABC. With that 345-ish, 245 window, Oklahoma, Alabama starting things off and having a slightly higher and the top rating overall for the weekend at nearly 10.5 million viewers for Sooners and their upset over the Crimson Tide. So 10.48 to be exact for that one. And then the following evening game between the Longhorns and the Bulldogs in Athens, just 500,000 less over there on ABC, 10.43 million for that game. So OU Bama 10-4-8, Texas Georgia 10-4-3. You can see the smile from Greg Sankey from miles away, and then not to be outdone as far as they very much outdone as far as it being double the ratings, but not to even be too greedy. They also took the 3rd place spot as well and got the bronze there with South Carolina and Texas A&M, a game that would have had big viewers anyways, especially with A&M's positioning. But certainly I think as people probably saw the score and said, oh, what's going on? I better rush over to that game. I don't know how much of an effect that had, but a very healthy 4.28 million viewers for Gamecocks and Aggies down in College Station in that noon window. That was an ESPN broadcast. So, 1, 2, 3, OU, Bama, Texas, Georgia, a massive drop-off. But the numbers were so massive that you can lose 6 million and still have 4+ million watching the 3rd game, which was Carolina and A&M there. So, those were your top 3 last week. And nobody happier than Greg Sankey to have YouTube TV all sorted out and all those things finally dealt with after some frustration these last few weeks.
And this is your weekly reminder of why Tony Petitti is actively trying to ruin college sports. Because he can't do anything about it. The SEC went and made a fancier conference by adding 2 ridiculous blue bloods. And then, obviously this was Kevin Warren. And so when Tony Petitti took that job, he thought I'll be able to do that. But, the SEC is able to hide their Kentucky versus South Carolina ratings, which are still not bad, as they go along, as where the Big Ten can't hide these teams have never played each other before, but we're going to try to shoehorn it into, this is amazing. Check out UCLA and Nebraska. It's just not going to work.
No, it's not got the same draw to it. But you did have, as far as the non-SEC games go, the Notre Dame Pitt game on ABC, just under 4 million for that one. So that finished in 4th. Then the first Big Ten game that you do spot on this list, and Michigan brings 3 million regardless, no matter what, basically every single week. I don't know what the average is. I'd have to do some studying on that, but it does feel like Michigan, at minimum, is going to pop 2+ million if they were playing an inter-squad scrimmage, or if they were playing Team Saudi Arabia or something like that. They would still pop and have millions watching because their brand's that big. But at Northwestern, 376 was good enough to round out the top 5. Ohio State, very much similar to Michigan in that regard, hosting UCLA, 338 million. And, 2.5+ million watching that absolute dumpster fire of a football game between Clemson and Louisville, the second highest rated game, but the game that, if you don't count, not really technically a member Notre Dame, that was the highest ranked ACC game of the week, was Florida State Clemson and Louisville on a Friday night, where they got 2.5+ million for that one. And then, I said I don't try to really paint narratives here other than the obvious of the SEC is pretty dominant. Michigan, Ohio State are going to always have big ratings. Notre Dame, the same thing. But man alive, if you are somebody that looks at this from a Big 12 perspective, not a good week. TCU and BYU, not the sexiest game in the world. TCU not really holding up their end of the bargain right now, but also a late kick. So you do have to consider this was a 10:30 game for some people. So it was late on Saturday night, but the highest ranked game of the weekend, 1.56 million for that one. So that's top 10-ish, but just barely as your top-rated game. And then you go down a couple more spots and you see Texas Tech with UCF. That was an mid-afternoon game, $1.4 million for that one. So even though Tech is the big story, that's not necessarily bringing in big eyeballs for, and you know what? I don't think anybody was under the impression that was going to be a really competitive game. So I'm sure that played into some of it. I'm not making excuses, but that was not the most exciting or competitive matchup.
That is a huge drop off.
Yeah.
Massive. That's your team right now. That's the highest spotlighted team, and it just, man, it's just a big difference. It really is. They need to get into the bigger games, win those, and then maybe start to get even more eyeballs.
I don't know this to be sure, but I'm almost confident in saying that you could take just the Alabama rating, and that's would beat the entire weekend for the Big 12.
Yeah, probably.
Pretty easy to say that. I mean, if the biggest game was TCU BYU at 1.5, UCF Texas Tech at 1.4, and they got 10-4, then
You look at the networks, and that's not an excuse, but sometimes that matters. Kickoff time, but you know what? Alabama and who was the game? The A&M. That game with South Carolina was an 11 o'clock kick. If you're good, you'll have eyeballs no matter when you're playing whatever network it is. But it does help to be on ABC or something like that.
TCU and BYU, like if you do need to, for some reason, try to make it, some sort of a defense for it. Again, it was 10:30 Eastern time kickoff, right? So that's not going to help with your eyeballs. I think that plays a minimal factor, if at all. I don't think if they played that 3 hours earlier, then all of a sudden you're popping $3+ million necessarily, but it did have probably some effect being that late. And also the other factor, if you do want to like really look at it, it was a completely uncompetitive game as well. It's a late game, one interesting team out of the two, and it's also not very competitive. But I think if you start going that route, you're really reaching for reasons to try and put lipstick on a pig, honestly.
They struggle when it comes to pure viewers compared to others.
I mean, the third most watched game for the Big 12 is like probably in the lower 20. Utah, Baylor, 415,000. So, yeah, I can say with great confidence that OU, Bama on its own, Texas, Georgia on its own outdrew the entire league. And that's where – maybe Dion can get on a roll and help you out a little bit or something. But, yeah, that's the biggest problem they face is trying to get the outsider attention and even in some case the insider attention as well. But, yeah, OU, Bama, Texas, Georgia, no surprise, absolutely massive numbers now that especially the YouTube TV stuff has been worked out. That only seemed to help the SEC sweep the podium there. All right, meanwhile, I guess we're in a crunch here. NFL tonight going on. We got our usual Amazon game. And so later on tonight, it will be Bills at the Texans on Prime Video, 7:15 Central kickoff.
Be careful if you're the Bills.
Davis Money Mills, although Josh Allen just had the opus of a game last week.
He was unbelievable.
Yes, he did. So that coming your way later on tonight, Bills and Texans, and then also got some college football going on as well later on this evening as we start to get into the third night of the week where we've had college football, just the one game. It'll be Louisiana at Arkansas State, 6:30 on ESPN. You can check out Raging Cajuns and Red Wolves, and looks like Arkansas State a slight favorite, 3.5-point favorite at home later on tonight in some Sun Belt action. So there you go. There's a few things off the radar.
All right. Thank you, Craig. We have Colby Carthel, head coach at SFA, around the corner. They're playing in about an hour and a half to try to win the Southland Conference outright. And all of what we have at the end that Andrew with his symphony orchestra of fun. This is 365 Sports. Damn right. This is an SFA Lumberjacks helmet that Colby Carthel gave me back when his first year they played Matt Rule and Baylor at McLean Stadium, signed it, sent it to me. And I am Axum Jacks. I love the school. That's how I got my broadcast career started. And Colby, you and I have stayed in touch, and not a whole lot, maybe 2 or 3 times a year we'll share a text or two. I might even tell you about a player I think that should go to SFA. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that. Congratulations, Southland Conference champions. What did that mean? What does that mean?
Well, just I think really a validation to our players who stuck around here in today's crazy climate of college football. And we had so many great ones, especially a really good senior class, 26 seniors that had all kinds of offers and a lot of money thrown at them, and they all stayed here. And just to validate the hard work they put in and the decision they made to finish their careers Lumberjacks was pretty special to clinch a share of that championship, and got a chance to make it undefeated, undisputed here tomorrow night for the first time in school history.
All right. I don't know what to call the wooden Indian. What do I call it?
The Chief.
The Chief. Yeah, it used to be, I can say this. It used to be called Chief Cato. I was an SFA guy. Northwestern Louisiana was usually a little bit better, although Jim Hess and Lynn Graves had a pretty good run at Stephen F. Austin back in the day. But did you have somebody in shop class or whatever make this new Indian statue that is played for now?
Well, and it's actually just a big old giant pine log that has an axe on one end and a pitchfork on the other, and we named that log the Chief just so we could keep the battle for the Chief alive. They retired Chief Cato back in all the wokeness of 2020, and that's it is what that is. But we're still battling for the largest traveling trophy in college football on the planet, 7 foot 6 inches, 400 pounds, and we got to work hard to keep the Chief here at home in Nacogdoches.
Yeah, you can't let that go. I'll text you some bad things if that happens. You're playing Thursday night. You win the championship. You turn around. It's a short week, although that's kind of part of scheduling today in college football so you can be on television. How has the week gone so far?
It's going really well. We've backed off of them a little bit from down to about an hour's worth of practice, and practice Monday, Tuesday, and then this morning took the pads off of them today and kind of combined a Thursday, Friday itinerary, and we'll do some meetings in the morning, load up, and head over and play a game. So a short week. We're both playing in it. No excuses. Lumberjacks will be ready to go.
So great crowd, huh? Unbelievable crowd. The excitement. I saw some of the videos. Phil Bennett, by the way, who joins us on Mondays and kind of analyzes the college football weekend, said that he spoke with you last year after you played Incarnate Word because his son is on that staff. And he said that you mentioned to him, I think we might take it next year. I think we might be good enough to win the conference title. You saw that coming a year ago.
We did. We had a good year last year. Wasn't a great year. We lost 3 games. They were one-play games. We lost on a Hail Mary, last play of the game, and then a fumbled pick six. And that stung a little bit, losing games. I used to have hair. But it's all gone now. But off that team, we had so many great players and so many great seniors and NFL prospects that chose not to jump in the portal, not to go chase the money and come back. And as I tell everybody, we got one of the worst locker rooms in college football, but the best people in it. And the culture we've got here at SFA is unbelievable. And it's the players that make it what it is. And so they all came back and put their best foot forward. It wasn't easy. We started out 0-2, lost to Houston, but knew we had a good team after that game. We held Houston to 7 3-and-outs down there at their place, and then lost a heartbreaker, played one bad quarter up in Abilene and lost 28-21, I believe it was. And so started out 0-2, but then just started, stacking days and getting things rolling. Now here we are looking at 10 games in a row and punched our ticket for the playoffs, going to host a game and possibly get a bye.
All right, I got to go back to what you said about the locker rooms and facilities or whatever. I haven't been to the stadium, Homer Bryce, in a while, but is that something you're battling right now to try to get better facilities because people want to be there?
We're not battling. It's just our reality, and you need to come back, David. I mean, it looks exactly the same as you did. It'd be a great nostalgic trip for you because our locker room was built in 1973, and it is what it is. But SFA is in a place right now. We joined the UT system, so I say axe 'em jacks or hook 'em. Do it. But
wait a minute. I can never do the hook 'em.
Well, you got to axe 'em jacks when you do it.
Oh, no, okay, I could do that. Do that.
Hey, as old Jerry Maguire said, show me the money.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
The UT system's done amazing things on this campus already in 1 year, and just they're going to do. It's going to be somewhere right around $1.4, $1.5 billion of infrastructural improvements here. We got $300 million already in the works, and we're going to have a new stadium, a new locker room, new baseball, softball on campus. We got some big things happening here in the Piney Woods, so it's going to be it's a great time to be a Lumberjack right now, but it's only going to get better.
Well, it's always been a good time for me. I know there's been ups and downs. So the first time I actually ever met you was when you played that game at Baylor. You had just taken the job. You had won a national title at Texas A&M Commerce. Obviously, that name has changed now, East Texas A&M. But you took over a program that was hit with an academic issue and had a lot of suspensions and NCAA stuff. Why did you take that job? Or did you know that? Did you know that before you took it?
Well, I knew that there was some trouble here, and they hadn't won. They weren't winning on the field. They weren't winning off the field. And, we inherited an academic misconduct and integrity, character. That's not just a word on the wall. It's something you live by. And so we turned ourselves in, and it wasn't our doing as the previous staff. But, NCAA and all their infinite wisdom hit us with a death penalty. And so had to overcome that, as you saw us play that year. And, we've had a lot of challenges. It's been a tough mountain to climb with the death penalty, COVID. We had 6 presidents in 6 years. My first rattle out of the box here. We played in 4 different conferences. And so the hill has been steep, but, just one step at a time. And we've been able to climb that mountain. And, when you take a job like that, it's like putting a puzzle together. There's pieces scattered all over the place. And sometimes that table gets turned over halfway through, but you just keep working and putting these final pieces to the puzzle. It's been pretty fun.
Well, it has been. And when the UT system, the only thing I was worried about, this is me being honest, and I mentioned this on the show we do, our YouTube show, is that you have Texas A&M Commerce, which is now East Texas A&M, and then, of course, other schools that have attached to either A&M or Texas. I did not want to be at a school where I could not say the name of what the school was when I was there and graduated in 81. And SFA has kept that. It's a part of the UT system, but they kept the name. How important do you think that is just for, notoriety or just to feel good?
Well, it was crucial. It was everything. And because we have been a standalone university, we were a standalone university for right at 100 years. And so there were some things we weren't going to, compromise. And because, every system in the state of Texas tried to get us to join, but we ended up going with UT. But those are the 3 big things. No name change. Lumberjacks are still the Lumberjacks. No mascot change. And it's going to stay purple. So those 3 things were pretty paramount in making this deal get done. And now it is. And we're a proud member of the UT system. And I think we've got the best of both worlds.
You played at Angelo State, right, Colby?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember and I mentioned Jim Hess as a coach who came over. In fact, I think had won a national title at Angelo State. Then he came to SFA and they shut out, I think, the Rams 21-0. I'm not sure if that was my senior year or the year after that. Did you ever, they had a guy named Clayton Wysoon, a linebacker that was a hell of a player. Were you as good as Clayton Wysoon?
I played, the only thing Clayton and I had in common, we played the same position. But, Clayton Wysoon, Greg Stokes, Pierce Holt.
Yep.
Angelo State is a great university. They won a national championship there in 78. Jim Hess was a great friend of mine. So was Clayton Wysoon. Both those guys, we lost them both in the last 3 years here. But, that's where I cut my teeth with the great Jerry Vandegrift and Mike Martin, who was at his time as a great defensive mind. And so that really helped me through my college years to get a great foundation to start on in life. And so I owe a lot to a lot of fine folks out there in San Angelo, Texas.
When you take over a program, again, SFA won a share of the Southland Conference Championship last week and try to win it outright against Northwestern Louisiana on Thursday night. When you take over a program, sometimes you could have instant gratification, but literally because of the academic issues, then COVID, my goodness, that was such a challenge. What is the art in making sure you build something that has got structure and foundation and not fake where you win early, but then you're not really getting better for the future?
Yeah, I don't know if I've been blessed or cursed, in my career, but all I've done is, inherit programs that have a lot of problems. But, I think that the number one thing, David, is just getting the right people in the building. And that's something the good Lord has blessed us with, always putting together a great staff. That's where it begins is the staff you put together. They got to be, in my book, number 1, strong Christian moral men. Number 2, great recruiters. And then number 3, great coaches. But in that order, and don't compromise. You do that, you get the right staff, the right people in the building. Then you go out and you fill your locker room with the same type of kids, guys that are good people, that love the game of football, that are doing it for the right reasons. and you've got to work a little harder nowadays because so many people are chasing the check and chasing fame.
Yep.
It's about character, bottom line, guys that are doing right on and off the field. And so I think that's the key, is just getting the right people in the building.
How much do you have to ward off the portal people?
It's unbelievable. I mean, we've got the highest rated FCS player in this year's draft. Good friend of ours, a good friend of yours, James Blanchard, he called me the most famous GM in college football right now. He's like, Colby Carter, you got the dead burn highest rated FCS player in next year's draft. You got him to stay, and I didn't get him to stay. Our culture got him to stay. And that's Charles Demings. We've had 84 NFL scouts here this fall. And they're going to find you. If you're talented enough and blessed with ability to play on Sundays, they're going to find you no matter where you are. I think it all started with Xavier Gibson, the great punt returner, with the Eagles right now. He chose to stay when people offered him hundreds of thousands of dollars to leave. And that's just kind of created a snowball effect in our locker room and within our program. Kids are staying, and we've got a good thing going here. They're going to be coached right, treated right, pushed to be the best they can be, and have a chance to be successful on the field, but more importantly off of it, and still reach those goals of playing on Sundays.
JJ Perez was Luis Perez, was your quarterback, and we focused on your program quite a bit with our radio show back when we were on an ESPN affiliate. And I remember we had you on, we had Perez on, among others. How much do you still take that memory? It's 5, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, but how much do you still feed off of that memory of that feeling of winning a championship?
Well, I can't pass a bowling alley without going in and looking for a National Player of the Year professional quarterback in there, because Luis, he didn't play high school football. He's a bowler, but what a special talent he is, still playing there with the Arlington Renegades. But that was a great experience. The trophy's still, over here in the office, and we talk about it and what it takes to be there. But, those are pretty special. You want to build your program to be nationally elite, and you're never going to be a national champion. You just got to get in that pitcher, and that ball's oblong, and so it bounces funny ways sometimes. But if you can get in that Final Four pitcher, you got a chance, and it takes good people to do that. And I think we've got a really good program here and a good team, and so we'll take it one game at a time. When the playoffs start, we'll see where we end up getting seated. I think we've got a really good chance to be a top 8 and get a bye that first round, and then play at home for a week or two. So we'll take it one day at a time, one game at a time. We got to get after the Demons first tomorrow night, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
What is the most underappreciated or overlooked part of your football team?
I think our special teams. I think that's the punch they never see coming. Championship Analytics, CAI, they've got us rated as the number 2 program in terms of combined special teams, all 5 facets. We're ranked number 2 in the country. And so I just think that's something that still today, with so many people and coaches and programs turning over, players turning over, special teams gets neglected. We've got a great special teams coordinator here named Nick Nelson, our whole staff, our quarterback coach, passing game coordinator, Jared May. He's in charge of our punt return unit. That's our quarterback coach that runs our punt return unit. They're number 1 in the nation. And so it's a team approach with our staff and with our team. And I think special teams is really what puts us over the top.
Besides experience, Colby, why are you a better football coach now than when you started?
I just have more and more good people around me. That's one thing that was fun about the jump from A&M Commerce to SFA. You can get more people in the building, more people in the staff room. I'm inherently lazy by nature, and so more coaches I can have around me, the less I have to do, and let them go to work and pour into these kids. And so that's I still think is just the secret to the success. I tell everybody we don't have more fun because we win. We win because we have more fun, pouring into these kids day in, day out throughout the year, helping them be better, just better people. And that's where the good Lord didn't bless me with many talents, but he blessed me with the ability to lead men through the game of football, and players and coaches alike. And so that's what we do. We pour into them, and the results kind of speak for themselves.
You mentioned having fun, and we have the success that's obvious now with the evidence, but what was a time at all, or was there a time, despite the early, I guess you could say, the adversities that you had to face as a program, Did you ever doubt you could get this done at SFA, even if it was 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, we got things going, and we were rolling in 21, won 8 games, and made the playoffs, and lost in overtime to a quarterback whose name was Cam Ward. He ended up going number 1 in the draft.
Yeah, he was pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good. Beat us in overtime. That one stung a little bit, and we were looking forward to a rematch with Sam Houston State Penitentiary in that second round. But it didn't happen, and so after that, we had a lot of coaches leave, and that was the one time we had players, they went with those coaches. And we really had to reset our program. We won the WAC the following year, but had to work for it and just really went through some struggles there, 22, 23. And that was when changing conferences, changing presidents, changing administration. It was really tough. And a lot of people gave up on us. But, we just rolled our sleeves up. Got to be East Texas tough. Got to have that red dirt mindset. And our kids did that, bought into that. Coaches did. And, always got better each and every day. And here we are a couple years later, top of the mountain again.
Yeah, it's a great story. Who's the better athlete in college, you or your wife?
Oh, my gosh. She was the world-class gold medalist for the U.S. national team, so I give her all – I got 3 boys, 10, 7, and 6, and I got one of them who's not that good of an athlete. Every time he trips or falls, he looks bad at me and blames me for the genes he inherited. It's all about her.
Man, I'm so happy for you. We've followed you, and we haven't talked in a while, but we do text every once in a while. I love SFA. I really do. I got to tell you a story, but you mentioned me. I need to come back. And you're right. I was invited back one time for some sort of a symposium, a career thing about broadcasters. And I've lived it for 44 years now. But I remember early on when I was in TV at Tyler, and I wanted to go back to watch an SFA game, and the administration at the time, I asked for a press credential, and they wouldn't get me one. They felt like that, I don't know. I mean, this is like in the early 80s. I graduated in 81, and I just felt like, wait a minute, I have a degree. And I have a degree from Stephen F. Austin. I literally love Stephen F. Austin.
Yep. You bleed purple.
Oh, I really do. Now, I love Matt Rule at Nebraska because I was born there too, but I just always had kind of a sour feel after that. So you'll play the first guy. I know you got to worry about the Demons.
Yep.
Are they still called the Demons?
Still called the Demons.
All right, good.
Anybody?
When you get information on your first playoff game, and we'll figure out, I'll try to see what I can do. I'd love to come be there. And I'm not just saying that and they won't do it. I think I might be free enough to be able to get that done.
A lot of things have changed around here, David. We need to get you back. And that first game, if we don't get the bye, it'll be November 29th. And you come on out. I'll not only get a press credential, I'll let you wear a headset, may let you call a play.
I did that for a spring game one time. We won that game. Hey, thank you very much, Colby. I'm so proud of what you're doing. Axum Jackson, good luck on Thursday night. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, David. Axum.
Colby Carthel, head coach of Stephen F. Austin, co-Southland Conference champions trying to win it outright if they could beat longtime rival, the Northwestern Louisiana Demons out of Louisiana. This is 365 Sports.
Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com, use our promo code 365 Sports. Coaches that will barely make it out alive. Now, these are guys who are going to be on the hot seat relatively, but I think just given the current situation, their schools are going to retain them. Number 5, Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. It has been a nightmare of a season for the Wildcats, and the fans have grown tired of Chris Kleiman's reasoning, excuses, whatever you want to say. Now, he's a very good coach, and maybe it's just the shine has worn off, and everybody needs to go their separate ways. I'm not ready to say that yet. Let's give him another year. But if they start losing players in the portal past Dylan Edwards, then you might start to see the writing on the wall become bigger and bigger for Chris Kleiman. Number 4, Dabo Swinney. Look, too many skins on the wall to let him go after his worst season. But I don't know what the future is for Cleveland, and neither does Dabo Swinney. The fans have started to turn on him, and this is starting to feel like the end of Mac Brown, where you've done kind of all you can. Things have changed. The game has changed. Your staff has changed. Your approach has changed. You're not the same guy you were.
a few years ago, and that's fine, and it's time for everybody to move on. This one will be the biggest one next year. If Dabo Swinney has a massive improvement, he stays. If not, then it's probably over for Dabo Swinney at Clemson. And when you look around the country and see all the jobs that came open this year, Clemson's not going to be scared about letting him go in spite of the 2 national championships that he has. Number 3, Lance Leipold. This is a Kansas team that is kind of confusing to watch. They jump out on leads. They're really good on offense. They cannot hold leads at all and have blown a lot of games in the fourth quarter. They don't win one-score games, and that has been a theme for Lance Leipold since he got to Kansas, even with all the improvements he's made, and made Kansas a realistic team that you could see in the future if they keep taking steps forward of contending in the Big 12. But right now they're stuck in neutral at a 5-7, 6-6 team. Well, by now they should have already been bowl eligible, especially given the games that they were leading and lost, like Mizzou, like Cincinnati, like several others. They had a lead and couldn't hold it in the fourth quarter. If that continues, Lance Leipold is likely looking at another spot in 2026. Number 2, Shane Beamer. This is another one where we'll have an enhanced commitment to the program. But if Lenora Sellers leaves in the draft or goes in the transfer portal, if Dylan Stewart leaves in the transfer portal, if any of their other studs that they have, Nick Harbor, leaves and goes in the transfer portal, then it starts to get hot for Shane Beamer, who will make it through this season, and we'll see how it goes in the future. He's well-liked in Columbia, but this season's collapse cannot be overlooked. And finally, number 1, Sonny Dykes in the national championship game 3 years ago against Georgia. And since that moment, nothing's been the same for TCU. Sonny Dykes hasn't forgotten how to coach, but they're stuck in the mud. The offense can't run the ball. The defense can't stop anybody. He's going to have to make some really tough decisions staff-wise in the offseason, and he's probably at that point where they're going to tell him to change coordinators. And that's unfortunate for Kendall Briles and Andy Avalos. But TCU also kind of collapsed this year. They had a lot of potential. They had one of the best quarterbacks, and still do in the Big 12, in Josh Hoover, but couldn't really translate it because it was either Josh Hoover throws for 300+ or you lose. And you can't just win every single game like that. But Sonny Dykes could be on the hot seat and probably is starting to feel that right now. That's going to do it for the top 5. The carnival begins now. Okie dokie. Andrew's put a couple of new things on here today.
God, that thing's going to fall over and
it is
take you out.
It is.
Please do.
If all the best Texas teams left and made a 5th conference, would they stand a chance with what's left in the Power 4?
As far as what, competing for a national championship?
Yeah.
If they all gathered.
So you're asking if Baylor, Texas Tech, A&M, Texas, TCU, SMU, Houston, UT, like every team is in Texas. Essentially the Southwest Conference again.
I think that they could have some contenders. I don't know if they'd have the TV ratings outside of Texas and A&M to really prop that thing up to get they would help tremendously with the TV deal. But as I just pointed out here, like there aren't a lot of great ratings outside of that, even with Texas Tech surging the way that they are. Perhaps that'll change in the coming weeks. But, I mean, it would be great. It'd be fun geographically, but there's no chance in hell that it would ever happen, ever.
No, it's a hypothetical. Texas and A&M's ratings would then make a Texas A&M Texas Tech game, great rivalry,
better, yeah,
much better by maybe 1 million or 2. And then even a game against a Baylor or a TCU by 1 million or so. So, yeah, but
Andrew, would you like to know the reason I think that the state of Texas has won one national championship in the last 50 years? It's because of the Southwest Conference and how they loved the smell of their own cologne so much back then.
They had a good cologne. It was like Aramis.
That's fine, but it wasn't the best cologne. And they were so obsessed with everything going on within the borders of here and then Arkansas, like that really clouded their growth.
I also
Southwest
think
Conference existed and doesn't exist for a reason.
And I also think that people would be, even with A&M and Texas as big as their fan bases are, the Ohio State fans would not care. That are watching them play Alabama or Georgia and are like, oh, that's cool. They would not care about the all Texas matchups.
No.
I don't think that would work out all that well. By the way, I want to insert this before I forget about it, but congratulations last night to Arizona on a massive college basketball win.
I've got it.
Over UConn, number 4 Wildcats over the number 3 Huskies. That was a huge win for Arizona last night. As I know we don't talk a lot of basketball just yet, but I wanted to mention that before we went.
All right. We interrupt the wheel. Okay. Do you have that graphic? Because it's important with what Arizona did. They have 3 wins inside the top 10 in the first 16 days of the season.
Yeah. Pretty impressive stuff. Yeah.
Top 15. 3. And look at the list isn't very long, and Arizona's 3 of those 4 teams.
Yeah.
Michigan State's got 2, and then there's a handful that have 1.
Yeah, that was a hell of a win, a fun game. I know there were some details as far as just the particulars of that game that we won't dive into, but just want to shout out Arizona. That was a hell of a win, a good win for them, obviously, and for the league as well. So,
all right, they picked up the slack from Duke losing to KU. All right, here we go, Paul.
All right, which NFL legend shocked fans by retiring at age 30 to pursue a career in Hollywood?
Easy. It's easy. It's Jim Brown.
It's Jim Brown. Although all these guys, Terry Crews is not a legend. He barely was on a roster, but he's had probably the best career.
Seems to be a pretty cool dude.
Guys.
Yeah.
Although he wasn't in Hogan's Heroes, so that's something. But yeah, this is Jim Brown.
Yes, and Duke beat Kansas, not Kansas beat Duke. Just to
I know.
Clarify something.
I know
because
Kansas is not in that level yet.
Yeah,
right.
Jim Brown.
Oh, the signal. Go
I
ahead.
do think that Terry Crews should have won an Oscar for his role in White Girls, but he probably has the longest IMDb page at this point. I would think.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What is that?
Internet Movie Database.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to find out who's been in a movie or what that guy is, you just look.
I think he's a good dude. I watch him on what is it? What is it? The show with Colin Cowher or whatever his name.
Come on now, like are you doing a bit?
Colin Cowherd? I don't know the name of the show, but Terry Crews is one of the guys that introduced. Huh?
You mean America's Got Talent?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, Colin Cowherd's not on that show.
No. Who's the
Simon
guy?
Cowell.
Simon Cowell. Yeah.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay, yeah, Jim Brown. He's done some great movies. After winning the MVP, seeking more mental stimulation, he moved into acting, landing a groundbreaking role in the I said Hogan's Heroes. Dirty Dozen, I'm sorry. The Dirty Dozen, becoming one of Hollywood's first black action heroes. He appeared in over 50 films and TV projects, choosing meaningful roles, while OJ made a killing and a very different legacy.
Hey, Jim Brown might have been involved in something like that too.
Have you seen the first 3 Naked Gun movies?
That is the first player.
Yeah, Paul, you know him. Yeah. All over those Naked Gun, the entire trilogy, not just the first one, but all of them.
I'm going to tell you, that is the most intimidating interview I have ever done in the history of ever at a Super Bowl Radio Row, and he was fantastic. Yeah. But I was a little puckered.
Yeah, I would think so.
Just because, first growing up, he was one of the greatest and still is. Okay.
Yeah. Next up, which sports venue is famously named the 8th wonder of the world? This is the Astrodome.
Yeah, this is easy.
Rose Bowl, Metrodome. Yeah, this is the Astrodome.
Actually, Andre the Giant was the 8th wonder of the world.
He was.
But that's okay. The Astrodome also can
there
do
you
that.
go.
Yeah.
Opened in 1965, Houston, dubbed the 8th wonder of the world, was the first fully domed stadium home to the Astros and Oilers. It introduced innovations like AstroTurf, which everybody loves, and climate-controlled indoor football. Today, it stands mostly unused as a historic landmark. With its future uncertain amid redevelopment plans, it is one of the biggest problems that Houston has.
They do rodeos in there and stuff like that, I believe. I called a high school state championship game when John Tyler beat Austin Westlake in 94.
Yeah, the city just fights about what they want it to be, and it's like, oh, well, why don't you just tear it down because it's right there next to NRG and doesn't look all that cool anymore.
You know what they did to Texas Stadium? They tore it down,
Yeah.
and now they're going to probably build a big casino there at some point.
Yeah, so there we go. Poll questions. Which Power 4 conference is most responsible for confusing the CFP picture? ACC at 30% came in second. SEC at 46%.
Bullies.
Yeah. Big 12, 14, and Big 10 at 10%. 1,950 votes. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's a big number for the SEC. I just think that everyone thinks of them as the ones, and I think the Big 10 doesn't get nearly enough credit for screwing this up too.
Well, because their picture's pretty clear cut right now. It's two teams that can just win out, whereas in the SEC, there's like 5 or 6 that are all alive right now. So that's not even the same thing. I mean,
ACC, it's like all but 4 of them.
Yeah, that could have been 100%. It could have been 100% ACC.
I mean, look at it. Big 10, we know it's Ohio State, Indiana, and if one of them slips up, which they probably won't, then okay, Oregon or somebody jumps in there. Big 12, it's BYU and Texas Tech. If somehow, which they won't, screw that up, then Utah jumps in there. But yeah, those are clearly the ones that are pretty clear cut. So the ACC, I mean, that's as muddled as the SEC is, but it doesn't have as much of an impact because they're not getting multiple teams into the playoff. They're going to get their champion, and that's probably going to be about it.
Yep.
And the SEC's got 5 or 6 teams that they're arguing over.
The Big Ten has 3, though, right? With Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon.
Oh, well, Michigan could get in there.
Yeah, that's true.
If they beat Ohio State. So.
All right. Good one, Andrew. Thank you.
Okay. Should a committee be the ones picking playoff teams? Yes. Committee context matters. No. Make it performance formula. That's 53%. Leach's 64 team idea is perfect.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just like Mike Leach.
I wish he could be the guy running the committee. That'd be awesome.
Well, he wouldn't want to be on a committee.
No, he would not.
He hates committees.
It's one of the great YouTube videos of all time. Make it performance formula. Well, can they? You would have to expand it like you do in Division 1AA or whatever to be able to have like a 20-something.
Well, no, you just do the BCS.
Yeah,
and you just have that dictate through the formula that also is played into by the performance, and that would dictate who gets in, and which is why you would push something so heavily like strength of schedule, strength of record, because that would favor you. So that would take the human element out of it, outside of the teams having to actually perform. And I think that would probably be the best of both worlds. I think the committee thing is at this point, it is a bit played out and silly. I think the song and dance TV show that ESPN puts on there is just a waste of time, but they get a reaction to it. And so long as they're getting a reaction, it's like anything else. It's like people who lie on social media constantly or misrepresent things. If it's getting attention, they're going to keep going with it. And that playoff show still gets a lot of discussion. Even though we know it's not the end-all, be-all, especially those first couple of ones at least. But obviously we're in the nitty-gritty of it now, and it very much does matter these last 2 weekends. But I do think that I've seen a good number of people that would like to, hey, just make it the BCS but with 12 teams or something along those lines, which I wouldn't be entirely opposed to, especially when I see, no matter who it's been over the years, jump up there and give some blah, 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 word salad answer to why, Indiana's over this team any given week, and you're just like, let the computers decide this. Like, this is stupid.
Juracek was stronger than Mac, and Mac might have been distracted, of course, but he flip-flopped on a couple of things.
I mean, I think, and sometimes I'm going to give Hunter Juracek, who I'm not really a huge fan of anyway, but a bit of benefit of the doubt here, because I do think that's a really, you can't really answer a question in a way that's not going to get you burned.
Right.
And so they try, instead of knowing that and just saying, look, this is what the rankings are. We have, here's the system. Here, it would be way easier if they just said, here's the system. Here's who voted for what. Boom, that's what they voted for. Here you go.
Deal with it.
Let Dave Bartu get up there.
Exactly.
And clear it up.
But they don't do that.
They open themselves up to criticism by trying to then go and explain themselves, which they're not able to do well. Whereas, if they just dropped it like it's the top 25 rankings and had no word on it, and maybe somebody did an interview during the week or something on Feinbaum or something like that, where you just promoted it. But you don't need a guy up there answering questions that clearly he or she aren't capable of answering efficiently every single week,
especially 6 weeks out.
Yeah, it's all TV show. That's what it is, and it could easily be a poll that just drops like the AP every weekend.
What was the last time you watched it live?
I haven't watched it all this year.
I think probably once or twice since 14.
No,
two years ago, right?
That was the last time.
Yeah.
And between then, I hadn't watched it at all. Since
I just don't. I thought initially, I got to sit down and watch this. But all right. Thank you, Andrew Valet. Appreciate you, young man. Thank you to Garrett Ross, not a young man. And then also Brandon Rowe. Appreciate Brandon. And I made them lasagna today, and I will get results back. Paul Catalina, thank you, the Italian Stallion. Craig Smoak, thank you. Also our great sponsors. Those of you who watch us and consume what we do, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube on 365 Sports. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.